As if you didn't get enough wrestling this weekend. You're here. You're here now, and you're watching us, and you're hanging out with us, and we are so grateful. So what's up, you beautiful people? This is Gary Horton. This is the NWA. It's a podcast celebrating the past, present, future, history, legacy, and tradition of the greatest pro wrestling entity of all time. We're talking about the National Wrestling Alliance, but today we're talking about so much more because the wrestling world is huge, and so are we. I'm huge in all the right places for this audience here tonight. And then just we get Will tickled early on, folks. Well, that's what we're going for.
You know it's going to be a good show.
And that's Will Martin, everybody. Hey, Will.
Hello.
And Rob Stinson, the doctor, is down here with us. Hey, Rob.
I'm in the house, man, and my diagnosis is y'all looking great. It feels great to be alive right now, and let's do a great show, NWA fam.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Scooby, Ryan Romano, Woodland Goblin, J Cow's in the house. Craig, I see you out there. Paladin, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate all of you for jumping on with us. We're here to talk this weekend about all of the wrestling news, all of the rumors, all of the important stuff. We're going to be talking about Mission Pro Wrestling. Tournament Out of Hell happened this weekend. AEW's Full Gear happened this weekend. There's so much to discuss. Guys, Rob, you're just getting back in today. You're jumping on here from Texas. I mean, well, you're not in Texas now, but I mean, you just literally landed and you jumped right on here to talk to these beautiful people today.
Man, me and my boy Brian Rosa and Ron Romano, we were out in the penthouse all weekend. That we booked down downtown Austin, Texas, and I just flew back in on my private jet. And I slept, so I'm rested, and I've been looking forward to this all day, man.
That's good. I've been looking forward to seeing all these people too. What's up, Brian Rosa in the chat? And I saw who else? I saw a bunch of people jumping. Clint, thank you so much for being here. Just wanted to give shout outs where we can. I'm so excited. So we may have a special guest for the Mission Pro show or part of the show. So we're going to hold off on that and just see how that plays out. So we'll just hit some news first, if that's all right with you guys, before we dive into show reviews. We got a lot of time. So we got everything to cover and plenty of time to do it in. So Will, did you want to add anything before we start talking about wrestling news? You just seem happy today. There's a glow about you.
I mean, yesterday was my birthday, so I'm happy about that. It's been a good weekend. I mean, what's not to be happy about right now? Everything's going my way.
The only thing that can make Will happier, because this joker right here, here's a little secret about Will. Will loves fanny packs or man satchels. If he had gotten a fanny pack for his birthday, you'd have seen a different Will from it. What? Oh, shut up!
What is that?
Talking about? Listen, this is not a fanny pack. This is a man sling or whatever you want to call it. I got all my stuff in here. I got everything I need right here for this show. I got everything right here.
I bet you don't have a fanny pack in there.
No, you're right. It's gone.
Man, that's a beautiful comb, taking care of that luscious man beard. Speaking of man hair,
some gum. You might need gum.
Some gum. Hey, do you keep the lawnmower 3.0 in that bag, Will? Just curious.
I don't, but I could, because it's small enough and quiet enough that I could put it in here.
Well, now's the perfect time to tell you that if you want an extra one just for travel with your man sling, if you go to manscaped.com and use the promo code NWAPOD, you get 20% off and free shipping. I think it's something like that. Those guys, the beautiful people at Manscaped, have worked hard to make precision engineered tools for your family jewels. And they're working on new stuff all the time. And it's almost Christmas time. You know somebody in your life who needs a trim, and you can help them out by going to manscaped.com. Rob, why do you look so confused?
I'm just thinking, I'm like, man, I hope they upgrade to the 4.0 so I can get me Gary's 3.0, because he sent me the 2.0. The 2.0 is big, man, and there is a engineering defect in there, because if you got really coarse hair like me, you're going to get some nicks and cuts. All right. Now, it's a nice machine. It's a nice machine, but you're going to get nicked and cut. Let me show you.
No, Rob, sit down. Sit down, Rob.
No. Okay, my bad. This ain't the time.
He just bails on us. By the way, for those of you who don't know Rob personally, and Ryan's met him now in person at the Mission Pro show, if Rob will try to, he hasn't quite come to terms with this is socially unacceptable, that he can't get pissed and leave every time he can't show you his nuts. That's a thing that's an issue with him. I don't know why. But anyway, that's how he met his wife. So there you go.
She's really classy. said no one.
Wow. I hope she's not watching. Jesus.
No, man. Hey, I like them. I like my little ladies a little on the trashy side. No, she's not watching. No, yeah. You don't. We're not live, are we?
Yeah, we're definitely live now.
Oh,
I'm just gonna throw out some wrestling news so this gets less weird. We'll jump straight from the Manscaped conversation into saying a big RIP to Alex Trebek passed away at the age of 80. And
icon, man.
Yeah, a huge icon. And I just mentioned it because if as a wrestling fan, at least, I mean, I don't think there's anybody who didn't know who Alex Trebek was. He was like a member of the family for so many of us, I think. But he also appeared on a wrestling TV. WWE issued a statement saying that WWE is saddened to learn that Alex Trebek has passed away at the age of 80. The game show legend became an icon as he hosted Jeopardy for 36 years. He traversed the WWE universe in the process, playing a prominent role at WrestleMania 7. Trebek served as a backstage interviewer and was the guest ring announcer for the WWE Championship clash between Hulk Hogan and Sergeant Slaughter. A 7-time Emmy winner for Outstanding Game Show host, Trebek hosted several other shows, including The Wizard of Oz, Double Dare, and more. WWE extends its condolences to Trebek's family, friends, and fans. So I just thought that would be worth mentioning. I definitely remember Alex Trebek being at WrestleMania 7 and trying to interview people, and it was fun seeing him there. Oh,
yeah, man, that's Alex Trebek, man. This is a great and historic week, and I'm really it was a great time. We had a great time at Pro. We're going to get into that, but we got to, we get to see a peaceful transition of power this week, and there's a lot of emotion going on. I met my man D Vargas at DNC Digital at Mission Pro. My brother right there. We had a great time. Alex,
what's going on?
D, welcome to the show, man. It's good to talk to you in person. I'm sorry that the first one of us you actually met in person was Rob.
You know what's funny is that I met him in person after meeting him in person, according to him.
Was he already drunk? Is that what happened?
It may have been. I smelled a little bit on his breath, but it's okay. No judgment.
See, and that's part of the problem is why is he always getting that close to people? Rob, we got to talk about all of your.
You know what the funny thing is? I went up to him. And gave him a big hug, like I was about to sell him some insurance. But it was a good night, man. It was a fun night.
Yeah, it was. So, this is. Oh, go ahead, Rob. Sorry.
I was gonna say, look, see what had happened was at the previous show. At the previous show, I thought I met him because I met Pete Martin. Pete Martin and D look a lot alike. They're very similar looking. And so I was like, yeah, me and DNC was hanging out. And he texted me. He's like, hey, can you DM me? He's like, yeah, man. He's like, hey, you said you met me. Was I there? I was like, but nah, man, it was a great time, and I'm so happy to have gotten to meet him last night, and I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of each other here in the future because Mission Pro is going nowhere, man. It's going everywhere. It's going everywhere. It's not going away.
Yeah, and you owe me a ribeye steak. We already spoke about that.
Yep.
Rob, deal. Rob out here making promises. Oh, well, if for those of you who don't know, for everybody who's watching us live right now, this is D Vargas from DNC Digital. He has interviewed so many people. He has his own YouTube channel, and he's been gracious enough to join us tonight because we're going to cover Mission Pro Wrestling Tournament Out of Hell. We're going to be talking about that here in just a minute, but we wanted to invite somebody else on to just discuss it. He and Rob were both there in person. Will and I watched it live, but D, go ahead and plug just right up top here. Like, where is your YouTube and everything? And people can find you.
You can find me at DNC Digital right there on the bottom of my screen if that's being shown. I used to go to Comic Cons and interview all their guests. Now with COVID, knocking us all out, I have now resorted to doing a podcast type thing. It's only audio interviews on my YouTube channel. Sponsoring Mission Pro Wrestling, a lot of the content recently has been heavy on the wrestling, but I do like to interview a lot of people from different fields. I just released my episode with Ryan Niemiller, who, if you guys don't remember, he was the comedian on America's Got Talent that had the disability with the arms. And I don't like to be the kind of guy to say the stay tuned type of deal, but I do have some exciting episodes coming up, and I would only hope that everybody watching would partake and subscribe into the channel.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys check him out. He does some great stuff. He just recently had Thunder Rosa on there, and so that's good stuff. We're both proud sponsors of Mission Pro Wrestling, and that's why he's here. I see you guys in the chat talking about AEW Full Gear. We're going to get into that later on in the show. We're going to talk about now, if you guys are into it, we'll just jump in and talk about Mission Pro Wrestling Tournament Out of Hell, which took place on Saturday. If you guys haven't seen it already, you can catch it right now. You can go check it out on the Title Match Network, and it's well worth your time. These ladies put on a hell of a show every single time they've gone on. We've now seen Hell Hath No Fury, and Tournament Out of Hell was the follow-up to that. There's going to be a whole other show coming up in December, I think December 11th, called Run It Back.
Yes.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, so to start things off, I will say Rob always says, even after the election, the Republic will survive. But I was worried about the state of our show because the first round of this tournament was originally going to be Rachel Rose versus Maddie Ridkowski, and we were all torn about who was going to win that match. And then thank you to whoever booked Mission Pro Wrestling's Tournament Out of Hell because you switched that matchup on us. I think due to COVID and who knows what else, a lot of things changed on the lead up to this show, and so we didn't exactly get that match. Well, they screwed us out of that match. Honestly, you guys didn't give us Maddie versus Rachel at all, which keeps us together and keeps us from having a fight. So I guess I won't complain too much about it. But anyway, we did do our picks well though because both those ladies did do really good in the tournament. I guess we'll jump in and we'll just start off talking about it here. But guys, tell us a little bit before we get into the actual show. I am curious, like how was the atmosphere there? Was everybody excited being there? I liked the look on the show with the carnival in the background and that whole thing. That was I almost wish it would do that every single time.
Man, Pinball's Kingdom is one of the best, coolest venues, and you go in there and it was neat last time for sure. But Friday night was just it was just magical. It was charming. You had the carnival in the back. I walked in and I was talking to Brian Rosa about the tournament and the brackets being reconfigured. But ultimately, I thought it worked out well because if you think about it, if Maddie and Rachel Rose had wrestled in the first round, we'd only got to see them one of them once, but we got to see them twice. And so I was so pleased. And now, don't get me wrong, this match is going to happen at some point.
Yeah,
it's coming.
Yeah.
Rachel Rose, Maddie Rankowski is going to happen. It's inevitable. But I'm glad we didn't see it on Friday because we got to see 4 great matches: 2 with Rachel, 2 with Maddie, and Vargas. Tell them, man. I mean, the atmosphere is unparalleled. It's crazy.
There were so many layers to it. Personally, being a part of Mission Pro Wrestling as a sponsor, it was cool with me because my 11-year-old daughter, she's looking at these ladies that I'm interviewing and looking through their social media with me while I'm doing research and stuff, and I just see it in her eyes. Like, I'm glad that she has all these strong, badass women to look up to because Nicki Minaj and fucking Cardi B aren't doing it right now for me. So I got that going. And then it's the return to the live wrestling for me. The atmosphere was, my girlfriend was there, and not to sound cliche, but she said she did feel empowered as a woman, because she's like, it's not to be sexist, but I didn't even miss the guys. I didn't even realize that guys weren't in the show, because the women were constructing such an amazing show. Props to Robin Reed, who's the booker, because with all the adjustments and switching and mix and matching, it felt like nothing even happened. It felt like everything was going the way it was supposed to go. When it comes to Maddie Rankowski and Rachel Rose, those two young ladies, with the inclusion of Vert Vixen, in my opinion, are the future of wrestling as far as women are, because those ladies they're nuts. And I had the pleasure of getting to know them the past couple months, but it's the first time I see them live, and I became a huge fan of all three of those ladies. And it wasn't a predictable bracket, because even if they were separated, I'm like, oh, so they're going to end up in the finals. But then now we got Lacey Ryan and Rosa Negra, who is insane. She is a firecracker pitbull heel with the best facial expressions in so long. Lacey Ryan is a badass who killed it with the babyface fire. Every match was so good. It felt really cool to be a part of that, and I'm excited. I'm just excited for the future, because there's no stopping this ship. You got no matter what waves come in, like, this ship is going to keep going and going and going.
I sent Rosa a message Saturday morning, and I was like, man, it's like, I just got to tell you this. It's like, it's not often, it's not every day that I wake up excited about a show I had just seen the previous day. Like, I woke up excited about the show. This was a show where every match was phenomenal, from
every match
to Thunder Rosa and Raylan. I mean, it was just an incredible show, man. So, Robin Reed, Thunder Rosa, all the women involved at Mission Pro should take a very well-deserved out. And we've been saying this. We've been saying this for a long time. One of the cool things about Mission Pro is it's like, one of the things that rubs me about AEW and WWE is they're always talking about what the quality of the women's division is, and that's not even at issue here, because it's not about. It's just wrestling. It's just wrestling, and it just so happens that they're all women and they're the best in the world. So you take that whole, what's the nature of the women's division? They are better than most divisions of any gender out there. I mean, it was such a good show from top to bottom.
I think that's the big thing that I took away when we watched Hell Hath No Fury, was that, all this talk about, like, the AEW women's division needs this, or the WWE women's division is doing this. And, like, you start to feel like there's just not enough women wrestlers, or, like, what's the deal? Like, AEW was, like, scrounging up talent, or, like, it seemed like they were supposed to be trying to find somebody anywhere, just a needle in a haystack out there. And then I see this show, or Hell Hath No Fury, and I was just like, have you guys watched Mission Pro? Like, because women's wrestling is as strong as it's ever been, and much less to exactly what Rob and Dee are saying. It's like, you watch it and it's like, it's not even about women's wrestling. It's a good wrestling show. Like, it's just a fun show altogether. And you don't even think about that aspect of it. So every single one of these women you could see becoming a huge star in the wrestling business. And that's what's really cool about it. What Robin Reed and Thunder Rosa and Brian and even, like, Jazz be aging in the back and stuff, like what these ladies are putting together is unstoppable. It is a beautiful thing to see.
If I may add to that point, and Rob can attest to this, there was just so much appreciation coming from the crowd. There were matches that got standing ovations at the end. All these ladies are very beautiful, very attractive, but it wasn't about that. I feel like when you're looking at AEW and WWE, you become fan of what they look like, and then comes in the talent, like, oh, she's pretty, and she can wrestle too. But I just feel like with Mission Pro Wrestling, it's not about these ladies and their bodies. It's about these ladies and their unbelievable talent, because I'm not saying it just because we're involved with it, but this really was an amazing show. And full disclosure, afterwards, when my girlfriend gave me her like feelings about it, you know, she did get misty-eyed because she's like we all sold the tickets. Like it was just women who sold the tickets. It was the support. It was the unbelievable momentum that Thunder Rosa has, and she sets the table. She wants everybody to eat. She wants to create opportunities for so many women, and it's just so cool. That atmosphere was just insane. It was so supportive, and they were there for the wrestling, and it was just amazing wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll echo the sentiments too about the booking. I loved, you know, when everything kind of got shaken up, we were a little bit worried, I guess, but that was just kind of our nature, I guess, when it comes to wrestling and things change. But as soon as it got kicked off, I was like you, D. I was like, man, this is completely unpredictable now. I was invested because I wanted to see what was going to happen. Not that it was super predictable before, but I mean, again, just a testament to the booking, and these ladies, not just the ladies in the ring, but the ladies behind the scenes, really, really know what they're doing at a high level. And it was just a great show, top to bottom.
Well, let's jump into it. Let's talk about the actual show itself. The commentators on the show are Brittany, Nicole, and Holiday. If you haven't seen this thing on Title Match Network, I recommend watching it. Brittany and Holiday are getting in their groove too with their friendship. You could tell they just like two distinct personalities, but they're starting to come together as a commentary team. I like hearing them and things catching on there that you know, you guys being there live might have missed out on, but like just the discussion that was happening on social media about like Titty City. Hashtag Titty City.
I
Did
heard
not expect
about
you to tweet that. Yeah. And they were encouraging that, and Holiday's been promoting Chop Night and all of that stuff, so they keep a steady count of all the chops that happen during the show. So there's a lot of fun interactivity that happens on the show. The first match we got was Maddie Rankowski versus Jenna Lynn, and I like both these ladies. Jenna Lynn like comes in like so excitable, and she just seems like so. I don't want to say cute because I feel like that discounts her, but there's like something about her that's just like she's a little smaller than the rest of the people, and but she's just got so much fire behind her with her kung fu or karate, and of course, you know, unfortunately for her, she's up against one of my favorites, Maddie Ridkowski. So, you know who I'm pulling for at first. They start off with a bow, then it's all. Maddie takes a second to get used to how quick Jenna is moving around with the martial arts and everything. But man, what she does, you kind of see Maddie get a little more aggressive than we've ever seen her be at Mission Pro Wrestling. And I really dug that in this match. And you started to feel like, oh yeah, this girl was trained by Jazz, and now we're seeing it. So Jenna tries to bounce back, but it's just, I don't know, Maddie's too much for her. Maddie hits that scissor kick. I think she calls it the reality check, and she gets the 1, 2, 3, and Maddie takes the first win of the tournament. How'd you guys feel about this?
It was a great starter match, man. It got me in. I mean, expected nothing less. I love seeing Maddie right out of the gate because I'm like you, Gary. She's top of the list for me. So just starting off with a bang and kept going from there. It was a great first match.
Jenna Lynn, man, let me tell you, I'm going to follow this career with a great deal of interest. She is scrappy. She's she's a short girl. Okay. She's about, I'd say about 5'4", something, maybe shorter than that. But she is like, she's giving me straight up Danny Jordan vibes. She's got a little bit of spunk to her, and she is fast. She is fast and agile. The only bad thing about this match was she ran up against Maddie Rankowski, who is, like Dee had said earlier, man, this is the future. And I agree with you, Gary. I like the attitude. I was expecting, walking out, I was expecting her to go up against Rachel Rose. Rachel bringing more of the attitude typically than Maddie does. But I like seeing this side of Maddie. And I think if we see more of that played out, more emphasis on hashtag literally, this girl is a star, man. And both of them are stars. Fantastic match.
Jenna Lynn has the, unassuming kind of presence when she comes in. Like, she's a firecracker and she gets you excited. But as far as you putting your money on her, she's more the endearing underdog baby face. So when she does come out with some fire, you kind of get taken back like, oh, I maybe have, misunderstood what I saw, and she can really pull this thing out. Maddie Rankowski did show those tendencies of the other side, and I like it a lot. Like I said, I became a huge fan of her, and that scissors kick is no joke. It really is a reality check because it definitely made me sign up to literally be a fan.
Yeah, it's well said, and I mean, she has the. Like, Maddie seems, I don't know how tall she is exactly, but she's got the legs that, like, the scissor kick just looks like the perfect move. Like, you could not have picked a better move as your finisher. So I really dig that about her. But, yeah, one thing I noticed this time around was Hell Hath No Fury was great, but it seemed like a lot of these people may have been finding their footing here, and they came out on Tournament Out of Hell, and there was some attitude at people that I didn't quite get on the last show. And, it's not taking anything away from them. It just, you know, like I said, like Maddie walked out here and she had her normal pose and everything like that. But once that bell rang, like she was devastating. Like she was aggressive. Like she wanted to take Jenna apart. And so you could really tell that. That was pretty entertaining for me. I don't want to call anybody out here, but Brian Cervantes in the chat. Maddie is my
What's
favorite.
up, Brian?
Oh, there's Brian. Brian, I didn't mean to put that on the screen. I'm sorry. Don't talk.
Oh, that was gross. Clicked the wrong plaque there. I zigged when I should have zagged.
Yeah, there you go.
Man code, bro. You broke the man code. Here we are talking about Mission Pro.
Oh, man. So, Rob, next up, we got Rachel Rose versus Vanity.
Versus Tanya.
Yeah, I was about to say, this is why
I thought it was going to be a triple threat.
I did too. So Rachel gets Ryan Romano and Rob. Ryan in the chat there. What's up, Ryan? And Rob Stinson. Both bow, but she goes to Tanya, and Tanya stands up and gets in her face. Like I saw that. I was like, what is going on right now? Like, are we about to have a triple threat here? Rob, what are you doing, man?
I'm like, hey, man, I've had worse Friday nights, man. I got Rachel and the lovely Tanya. I got the queen and my queen Tanya fighting over me. I wish they were fighting.
I was about to say, to be fair, if Rachel's fighting over you, it's just because she wants somebody to like just bend the knee. You know, that's all she cares about. Just show allegiance. Rachel came in though. Like I said, I talk about those attitude shifts. I mean, Rachel already was kind of, you know, I hate to use the term arrogant, but she was super cocky in this matchup, but also very aggressive. Vanity is my first time seeing her. Enjoyed seeing her in this match. She gets some offense, but like Rachel is just mean in this match and sneaky. She's like using the ropes on submissions, even to save herself. Vanity tries to mount some comebacks, but Rachel does not having it. She just she's just devious. She goes for the belt. The ref tries to take the belt away from her, gets distracted. Rachel hits an eye rake and then a big boot takes out Vanity, and Rachel is moving on to the next round of this tournament. Rob, how'd you feel about your queen then?
First of all, Gary, I'm not 100% in love with Tone, okay? I'm not in love with your Tone. You're talking about deviousness. You're talking about sneaky. Come on now. Look, and let's back up. Let's back up, okay? And my man Ryan Ramones, he's seen it. My back, I've been having this slip disc issue, okay? It just so happened, just as she walked by, you saw it. Just as she walked by, my back had give out. I was like, you know, I didn't bend no knee, man. My back gave out, okay? Point A. Point two, Rachel was completely classy. She conducted herself with a great deal of dignity and grace. She was very kind to everyone, and she went in there and executed a great technical match. So I have to tell you, Gary, I'm not in love with your tone, man. You got to clean the tone up.
Hey, D, can you throw us any information about this as a person who actually was aware and assertive during the actual show and not apparently not on, you know, whatever Rob was on?
I didn't know that Rob was related to the heel Michael Cole, because that was just a bunch of ass kissing right there. Geez. My God. Well, I was setting that whole thing up while he was talking. What was the question?
No, I was just saying, what were your thoughts on the match, man?
The match was it wasn't your regular formula for those that really watch wrestling. There was more heat than anything. Vanity did not get a lot of offense, but she's a fellow Jersey native, so I was rooting for her. But like I said, Rachel totally surprised me. She came out and these little details, little tiny details that a heel does that made her. I know that she knows what a heel is. It's not just acting like you're arrogant and acting confident and acting like you're better than others. There's a lot of other things, and she showed that little thing to me because, for example, I mean, it's what I noticed. A lot of people can just walk up to people and just say, bow down, bow down, bow down. But she makes people get up. She's like, get up, now bow down, to further that whole I'm in control of this, I'm the queen type of deal. Her facial expressions are awesome. She definitely she plays a little bit of the chicken shit heel, but more of it's more in terms of I'm not ready, you wait for me type of deal. But yeah, the match was great. It was just a lot of heat from Rachel Rose. It was a decisive and dominant victory, and she moved on.
Yeah, I'll say we talked about this a little bit with the last match, but and again, echoing Gary, no shade on the last show, but we're starting to see that this, Mission Pro is a legit promotion. There are storylines that are interconnected. We're seeing character development from show to show. And so I feel like every, return member of this card that was a part of Hell Hath No Fury, it's like they up their game a little bit more. And I think we're going to continue to see that every Mission Pro show. And Rachel Rose was no exception to that. I mean, she came in with this, as you guys have mentioned, this added layer of heelness, a very smart layer of heelness, not cheap heat, not being overtly underhanded just to piss people off, not that stuff that we see a lot. A very smart, intelligent wrestling heel persona that she came in and displayed, and it was super impressive. So again, like every time we see these ladies from show to show, they just get better and better.
Personal favorite was the head scissors with the push-ups. I don't know if Rob remembers that.
Yeah,
that was beautiful. And I mean, I don't know how Tanya feels about this, but I got a picture with Rachel after the show, and my girlfriend told me, she's like, "That's the only other woman you can bow to."
No, man, she. In all seriousnse, I think that there are a couple. Obviously, we've seen Red Velvet wasn't there last night. She was supposed to be. La Rosa Negra has been to AEW. There are some, and you got Thunder Rosa and Jazz and other personalities that are bigger than life. But if you're talking about grassroots talents who are destined for stardom, it's got to be Rachel Rose. I mean, she is. In all seriousness, I mean, she's one of the taller women on the roster, and you don't see this unless you're there in person, but and Dee can tell you that she's physically, she has a presence. I'm not talking about her looks or beauty. I'm talking about physically. She's in shape. She looks like a pro wrestler. She walks in there. She's tall, so she stands above the ring ropes. Her attitude is it's like one of those things that you can go to school, you can go to academies, and I'm sure we'll get into Thunder Rosa and Jazz's Academy that are opening up here pretty soon. You can go to academies and learn a lot of things, but there are certain things that are just innate. And it's that spark. And Rachel Rose has it. Whatever that it factor is, she's got it. Yep. And I bend the knee? You're damn right I bent the knee. And I will do it every time I feel it.
Oh, the story changes.
I got a shout out. I also have to make a point on Rachel Rose's music. Her music got me interested.
Oh, yeah.
I was just like,
perfect.
What the hell is that? Because that walk that she has, along with the music, and I was just like, yo, what is this? And my girlfriend told me what it is because I'm too old for all that hip stuff. But I enjoyed the music, and it definitely got me into her as a character.
Yeah, that you should see me in a crown thing. Like that's it's absolutely perfect. Next up, we had La Rosa Negra versus Heidi Howitzer. And man, I tell you what, though, if there was a shining star on this show, like, just one of the biggest to me was La Rosa on this one. Like, she just looked, she had this attitude and these facial expressions. One of you mentioned that earlier already. They're just, I don't know, man. She was just more mean than I remember seeing her. And I've heard of her. I've heard of La Rosa for a while and through various different things, but I think Hell Hath No Fury was the first time I'd seen her wrestle. And even there, I think during one of the speeches, like Thunder Rosa mentioned, you know, that she felt like La Rosa it was just one of those people who had never gotten the credit she deserves in the wrestling industry. And so especially coming out tonight, though, you could definitely see that. And fan of Heidi Howitzer. She's been on the show. She's a great, great lady, and she's got a cool look herself. And you expect that power to come more in play, but you know she tries to test the strength here, but the Black Rose is not having it. Just gives her a kick, starts beating her up. These two ladies go to town on each other. They're just like beating the hell out of each other. And it's just vicious. This is the match I talked about earlier where hashtag Titty City came up with Heidi yelling that with the chops. And but man, La Rosa ended up getting her wrapped up in whatever that submission was, just down on the ground, like bending her back. And it was over. La Rosa Negra gets the win, making Heidi submit. D, how are you feeling about this match and seeing La Rosa in this situation and even Heidi?
I expected, I feel like I expected more from Heidi, and I wasn't expecting that from La Rosa Negra. And I'm not talking about their talent. I'm just talking about, I thought Heidi was going to come in British Bulldog style, like just power and just grit. And I just thought Rosa Negra, like I saw the credit that she got from Thunder Rosa. But when she came out, I was just like, that's it. Like, she is a beast. She is like a pit bull that does not stop. I shouted out Heidi Howitzer as being a great storyteller because she made me believe in that arm. That arm was like top seller. It was like she sold it so well. And that submission was crazy. And Rosa Negra, like we're gonna talk about it over and over again. Those facial expressions really bring her character out. And I grew up in New Jersey, where there's a very large Puerto Rican community, and it took me back home, and I just know how fiery those women can be.
Right. She definitely had that, and just the air of confidence about her. Will, I'll throw it to you. What you think about seeing these ladies go at it?
Oh man, this La Rosa Negra was again a big advancement from what I had seen from her previously. I mean, she came in obviously looking to make an impression. I was a little disappointed. I had high hopes for Heidi Howitzer. I think just her look and her style, I thought that she was going to get a little more offense in and it was going to be a little bit more competitive. But once La Rosa Negra came out and you saw the attitude she was bringing and where she was coming from, it made sense that the match for sure went the way it did. So, excited to see more of both of these ladies. But yeah, I mean, the story of the match was definitely La Rosa Negra, just, I mean, up in her status, not just in Mission Pro, but in wrestling in general. So I was really, really, really excited to see that.
Yeah, man. La Rosa Negra, I mean, everything you guys said, I would say and agree and affirm 100%. She, again, big star appeal, attitude. Me and Ryan Romano both got faked out by her. Actually, I faked her out. I faked her out. Ryan got faked out. I faked her out. She tried to give me.
I saw her. I was about to say, I saw in her second match, she went for the high five, and you were all for it.
I went for the high five. She came to me, and then I did it.
You know is that what happened? It's weird.
Yeah.
She grabbed my camera. She grabbed my camera, upset that I was recording her.
Oh,
La Rosa Negra, man, is the real deal. Again, I feel like we're saying the same thing in every analysis because, again, this is not something – obviously, this is a woman who's well-trained. She's skilled. She's athletic. She looks fantastic. She's got everything that you need that builds up the basic package of being a wrestler. But she's got something else, man. She's got something else, and it's the attitude. It's the facial expressions like you guys have mentioned. Now, Heidi Howitzer, too, though. Don't sleep on her. I mean, this girl has got a unique look. She's got Road Warrior vibe. She comes out with the Mad Max gimmick and great paint, great look. And she's another imposing figure. I mean, she like Will was saying, you come out and expect this girl to dominate. The only problem is Rosa Negra has something to say about that. And so, you know, it was a good match. I have not seen – this was my first time ever seeing Heidi Howitzer in person, and I was pleased, and I look forward to seeing more of her. But this is, as far as I'm concerned, this is Rosa Negra's tournament to win, right?
Yeah, I think the big thing here is like, you know, just there's only one person can move on, you know, and so it's tough. Like Heidi, you know, I can't speak for Brian and Thunder and everything that they saw with her, but I can tell you just from speaking to her here on an interview, you know, she comes from Colorado, I think, and then she elected to travel down to Buda, Texas to be a part of this. Like she volunteered, like she wanted to come down there because she believed in what was happening, and I think that says something about who she is also. And she's got that powerlifting background, so nobody's wrong about thinking she should be imposing. There's definitely strength there, and we just I feel like we haven't seen the last of her, and she could definitely still come back and dominate this thing. All right, so next up, the Lacey Ryan Burt Vixen match. These two took on each other, and maybe you guys can speak to this. It felt like on Title Match Network, as I was watching it, the crowd seemed on fire for this match. Like from right when Vert walked out, she was high energy. And then Lacey Ryan came out. She just had this, you know, I think maybe Dean mentioned earlier, just like this baby-faced fire behind her. It's a good, solid match for Vixen, working that knee. But it's not enough that I don't know. It's like some like flip over GTS move that Lacey Ryan.
Oh my God, that finisher is just. I'm sorry if I may, because I'm already starting. If I may lead the charge, that finisher like I jumped off my seat, and I saw that finisher while I was doing research for her before our interview. In person, that thing is no joke. No joke. My girlfriend turned to me and she's like, "Is she okay?" I was like, I don't know.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. But it was a great match because both, I feel, are very interactive wrestlers. When they come out, they want to get you and your energy invested into the match. Vert Vixen is on my list of the future of pro wrestling. That woman is smart. She knows smart wrestling. It's not just doing moves. There's a story to tell. And that's exactly what they did. That leg will be the story of the night as we continue on into our analysis. But Vert is great. Vert is great, and I don't feel like there was anybody better to lead her to an amazing match than somebody like Lacey Ryan.
Yeah. I think when you're looking at the makeup of Mission Pro, you've got to have, and we're talking about a relatively new promotion. You got to have some talent there that's just going to instantly bring credibility. So you got your upper echelon of veterans that bring credibility just because they're there. I'm talking about Thunder Rosa, having Jazz background in the background, having Lacey Ryan, having La Rosa Negra, having Red Velvet, having talent like that establishes the credibility up front. But then you have the next echelon of talent that is your future. And this promotion must build this promotion around Matt Rankowski, Rachel Rose, and Burt Vixen. Those three are the three that this future is about. You got your upper echelon that establishes credibility. Then you have to build up your stings, man. Your stings are going to come in. Your Ultimate Warriors, they're going to come in and be the future. And that is Burt Vixen, Rachel Rose, and Maddie Rankowski, hands down. And this match tells that story.
Yeah, it was a great match. I loved. I mean, I talk about it all the time, but continuity and storytelling, even within the one night, talking about the leg of Lacey Ryan, that kind of stuff gets me going. Because I mean, dude, not to be the cynical ex WWE fan, but you just don't see that a lot. You see guys selling an injury during a match, and then they come back later in the night, and it's like nothing ever happened. So I love that we had a storyline like that developing. Yeah, I mean, it was a fantastic match. I think, to your point, Gary, I thought the crowd was really, really into it as well. And I think it was 99% because of those two ladies in the ring. They were getting the crowd bought in. It wasn't just that the crowd had hit a few drinks in and were loosened up. I mean, those two ladies came in and put on a great match. And as we would see later, storylines that were started would be paid off and would be a factor. So I felt like this was not a turning point in the night, but it was definitely a highlight for me.
Yeah. And that would wrap up round one of the tournament, and we'd go on to the semifinals. But before we did that, we had a quick intermission, and then when we come back, it is Thunder Rosa taking on Ray Lynn. And I was surprised this match was already, I don't know, I guess I had set myself up that would probably be the main event or something, and maybe if the NWA title had still been in play, if the Burke was on the line, then that would be possible. But they decided to go ahead and kick this thing back in and really emphasize the tournament, and which is a bold move and a cool move on their part to do. But so you've got arguably the biggest star on the show right now coming in right after intermission, taking on Ray Lynn. And guys, I just stopped taking notes during this match because I was just like, I was drawn in and I lost track of everything I was doing because these two women just beat the hell out of each other, and it was just an amazing technical wrestling match. And I don't know that Thunder Rosa even knows how to have a bad match anymore. Like, I don't know what she does. Like, it's you consistently with whoever she's in there with. And I know the other people are talented as well, so I'm not taking anything away from them. I'm just saying, when you see this woman go out night after night having these amazing matches, there's, science would tell you that this is Thunder Rosa is just this damn good. Thunder Rosa is just the best women's wrestler in the business right now. Maybe the best wrestler. Who knows? All I'm saying is Thunder Rosa is amazing. This match was amazing. Ray Lynn tried her best, but just couldn't dominate. We argued about it last week. Thunder Rosa needed a win to bounce back from that NWA Women's Championship loss. She got it here. She took down Ray Lynn, and she looks fired up and ready to go coming out of this. Will, I'll throw to you first this time. How'd you feel about this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, it was everything we've come to expect and love about any Thunder Rosa match that we get to watch. I thought Ray Lynn was a worthy opponent. She brought it. They kind of took each other to their limits. Very physical, very grueling. And at the end of the day, as we mentioned, it was kind of a must-win for Thunder, and she pulled it out. I think they got a good bit of time. Honestly, I could have seen like 4 or 5 more minutes of the match. That's how good it was. I mean, that for me, that's how you can tell I like a match, is if it's like by the time it ends, I'm like, oh, I could have gone 3 or 4 more minutes probably. So that's kind of how that match was for me. It was just a stellar match. And yeah, I mean, Thunder Rosa, sure we'll talk about her later a little bit, but she has bounced back from losing that title, and she is back on the Destruction Tour.
D, I guess I'll throw to you there. How'd that feel to watch this match in person and be a part of the atmosphere there?
Yeah, I am a huge fan of Thunder Rosa, the wrestler and the woman. She is the hardest, and I'm not gonna put woman in the sentence. She's the hardest working person in professional wrestling right now, with the exception of, say, Vince McMahon or something, or Triple H. But when you talk about the independent scene, AEW, NWA, for her to have all those moving parts of Mission Pro Wrestling, all the paperwork, all the decision making, still go out there and have a banger is a testament to her work ethic. She understands that she still needs to clock in. She still needs to clock in and go to work. It was an awesome match. For me, it was the attraction match because obviously she's the biggest star on the show. I respectfully disagree if the NWA title was still there. I feel like maybe they still would have stuck that in the middle because I would have wanted the importance of the Mission Pro Wrestling Championship to be the main event. So that they can establish that this is what we're here for. We're here for the Mission Pro Wrestling Championship. NWA Championship is here and everything's cool, but I would have still liked it to be a main event. The match itself, it was awesome. They really did beat the hell out of each other. They went outside the ring for a little bit, baseball slide type of dive out. It was awesome, and just to see Thunder Rosa wrestle in person was definitely an honor for me to see.
Man, this match went 17 minutes. It went 17 minutes, and it was a clinic. It was a classic. I went up, and Brian Rosa was standing just a few feet away, and I went up and I said, "Man, I got to tell you, this is a great match. This is a great match." I'm a baseball fan. Obviously, D is a baseball fan too. He's got that nappy looking Yankees hat on, which I respect.
This is fresh, baby. This is one of my 38 Yankee hats.
I love it, man. I respect the Yankees, man. I have to. I mean, what's not to respect? But when I want my daughters to have a sense of history when we go to ballparks, and I want them to know. And one of the things I'm proudest of is like my daughter Piper she's become a Dodgers fan because of Jackie Robinson. She loves the story. Okay. She loves we went and took her to Ebbets Field. I posted a picture with me and Petra earlier today of our trip a few months ago. And she's just like mesmerized by it. And it's like when someone like a Chipper Jones or a Bryce Harper, when you see them in person, you realize, hey, I'm seeing something different. This is a man among boys. This is an iconic figure, a historical figure who holds something of importance in history. And that's the sense you get when Thunder Rosa comes out, okay? I know I'm filibustering here, but you have to understand. Like, to see Thunder Rosa, and we've all seen Thunder Rosa in person. Will, you've not? I forget. Will has not seen her in person. You will.
Nope.
Gary has seen her in person. Dee has seen her in person. There's something about Thunder Rosa that when you see her, you're like, even if you didn't know who she was, you would know she was important. Like this woman right here, I'm gonna tell you, John Moxley deserves every bit of credit he gets. Chris Jericho deserves every bit of credit he gets. All these people deserve credit, but I'm going to tell you the biggest name in the world right now, the biggest name in the world, male or female, is Thunder Rosa. She is the best wrestler in the world, bar none. And you know how big a Nick Aldis fan I am. So take that as you will. You know what I'm saying? I'm just telling you. And then Ray Lynn, this girl, this match was amazing. 17 minutes of nonstop in the ring, out of the ring action from two scientifically trained professional women who have expertise both in wrestling and in other combat arts, and they showed us something that was special. And that was a match, and I love that match, and it was the best match of the night.
You know when he hits that higher frequency, like that.
What are you talking about?
By now, you probably figured out that Rob just is, it wasn't special for Rachel Rose. He just naturally kisses all ass. Like that's just how
he sounded like, right now, as excited as he was getting, he sounded like Stephen A. Smith when he starts developing all that momentum and it just starts going higher and higher. Like this team. He's one of the best teams out there. He just gets like a period every two words.
That's so true.
And then I don't know if you noticed, but Stephen A. Smith keeps talking and tries to get every word in before he loses his breath. He's like, LeBron James is one of the best out there.
Man, he's got you pegged now.
But you know I'm right.
No, nobody here is going to disagree about that. We all know Thunder. Front row in the chat saying Thunder's hustle is unrivaled. That's exactly right. Like Thunder, we know what she's doing. She's busting her ass every single day to make herself the best in the business. And as far as we're concerned on this show, she's done it. So that's
to tell you the truth, she's inspired me the past couple months, and with my own projects and my own reach, and speaking to a few people, including the person who I interviewed, who's the next episode of my podcast, well, I'll announce later. It's just that I sat there and I realized nobody's stopping you but you. And it sounds cliche, but you have all the knowledge in the world. You can learn whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. There's nothing stopping you at all. And so I took that and I decided, you know what? I'm going to go do this. And I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do this. So I have a lot of awesome projects coming up, and I want to give Thunder Rosa some of the credit, because just watching her and her work ethic, that woman doesn't stop. And I was like, well, shit, if she's not going to stop, neither am I, because when you go into the gym and you see everybody hustling and lifting those weights up, it gets you motivated too.
That's it,
yeah,
man.
And I'll jump on this train too. Friday, J Cal from over at the Alliance blog and I were doing the hot tag live on Instagram, and our topic was people who have gotten themselves over during this pandemic quarantine, this kind of pause we've been on. Obviously, the top of that list was Thunder Rosa. And the thing that we were talking about is that everybody has had the same opportunities. It was not about whether or not you were under contract, what promotion you're in. Thunder Rosa is signed to a promotion that was on hiatus for months. What did she do? She went out, she hustled, she got herself over social media, YouTube, booked any matches that she could, and made herself bigger somehow while the NWA wasn't running. Like wrap your mind around that. That is true hustle. That is true. I'm going to go out there and grind and make a name for myself. And she did it. And we're talking about her today because she was doing that. I mean, she could have been like everyone else and just kind of taken a break and coasted through it, but she didn't. She put her foot on the gas pedal and ramped up her career over the past year. And it's been really awesome to watch and be a part of.
Absolutely. So we go from a matchup that is two technically superior wrestlers putting on a clinic right there in the middle of Pinball's Kingdom to going to two wrestlers that it appeared might destroy the building you guys were all sitting in. When the WOAD versus Genocide happened, I didn't think that building was going to handle this. WOAD, WOD, it's the weapon of mass destruction. And she is something else. I was very impressed with her. And Genocide, I was already impressed with from last month. She's a specimen. Like, there's something special about her, too. And after Hell Hath No Fury, I wasn't sure if we'd ever see anybody be able to take it to Genocide. But, damn, I mean, WOAD sure did it. And these two women took it outside. They took it all over the place, but it was strictly a powerhouse matchup, and somehow ended with Genocide lifting WOAD up for a tombstone pile driver in the center of the ring and gets the 1, 2, 3, the winner, Genocide. D is Genocide and WOAD, are they as impressive in person as it felt like watching them on TV?
Those two women are a spectacle, and I mean that in every sense of the word. Those women, I mean, if she calls herself that, then I'm going to say it. The weapon of ass destruction, Woad, came in and stood toe-to-toe with Genocide. Genocide is a physical specimen. This was like that moment when Keith Lee's music hit and Brock Lesnar was waiting for him at the Rumble. Or when Drew McIntyre and Undertaker faced off against each other. Strowman and Keith Lee, when they faced off, I'm like, this is gonna be sick. And I believe this was the first match there were a lot of O's from the crowd, because there were just such hard hits. The one spot with Jenna sitting on the apron or leaning against the apron, and Woad like totally Yokozuna'd her, like hit the bonsai drop
I was going to bring
right
that
on
up.
her chest.
Oh my God.
And you know, both women put their work. It was the battle of the monsters, and I mean that in the most respectful way. Jenna getting Woad up for the tombstone was just, it got me off my chair, and I was just like, that's one of those that you're just looking around like, holy shit, that was just great.
Yeah. Rob, how are you feeling there watching this?
Look.
Rob is ready to go genocide and woke.
This was a very entertaining match. Obviously, I don't think they were going for a technically superior match. That's not their thing. These are physical women who space is an important thing, power is an important thing, and there was one moment, I can't remember at what point it was, but it was towards the end of the match where Jenna exercises this move on Woad on the apron, and I could feel like my teeth rattle. You know, it was like that.
It was a DDT. DDT on the apron.
Yeah, it was a DDT on the apron, and it like literally rattled the fillings in my teeth. You know what I mean? It was like, it was pretty impressive. It was a very, if you're looking at, if you're looking at a match like Thunder Rosa and Lynn for technical information to get a classic old school prize fight, that's not what you're looking for in this match. This match is the Road Warriors and the Russians. You know what I mean? This is brute force. And it was very entertaining. And both of these women engaged the crowd. They were very vocal. We didn't see Genocide be very vocal in the last show. So seeing her like talk and yell a lot was pretty cool. It was a different side of her, but I loved it. It was very entertaining, man. Very entertaining. Very entertaining.
Yeah, I'll say, again, as we've said this whole show, I mean, we've seen a new level of Genocide. I mean, she made a really big impression at Hell Hath No Fury. She reinforced and extended that impression at this Tournament Out of Hell. The thing I love about this match was that, and we talk a lot about, that we don't really call this a women's wrestling show. It's a wrestling show. It's true. Mm-hmm. And we don't think of it in terms of men and women. But here's one of the reasons is because, and this is where other promotions get it wrong when they frame a women's division. They pigeonhole women as a certain type. And they all have kind of a similar look and this and that. This match was the perfect example of why this was a great, well-rounded overall wrestling show, because everyone didn't look the same. You had all kinds of matches. You had all kinds of feuds. You had all kinds of gimmicks and personalities. And this was, you summed it up perfectly. I mean, this was the two powerhouses coming face to face, which is something that gives you chills if you're a wrestling fan, because that's something that's present on almost every card at some point, and it was no exception at this show. So it was awesome. I mean, I love a tombstone. I love a pile driver. That as a finish is, to me, devastating. And so I was the same way. I think this was the first time as I was sitting watching it at home that I like vocalized, that I was just like, oh, when I saw that tombstone and I was like, it's done. And not to sound, whatever, but like I've watched enough wrestling in my lifetime. It really takes something special for me to, as I'm watching on TV, to like vocalize, because I've seen, I like to feel like I've seen it all. But that moment, I literally was like, ooh, and that to me, that's a testament to those ladies and the booking and just what this match was on the card.
Absolutely. I want to throw into normally we kick it over to the chat more later on in the show, and D, you're being so gracious with your time. We appreciate it, and we're trying to move it along. I know you've got a whole family thing going on over there too. You got to worry about.
No worries. She's 11. She can take care of herself.
Yeah, there you go. But
she just took the car and went out and got some food. Yeah, she's
good.
Brian Rosa, right? A.k.a. Brian Cervantes, in the chat. He's asking.
She's standing there off camera just like. Where the hell are you going? Get in here. Trying to walk out the house. taking me too
Yeah,
literally.
she's a
I'm in character right now.
There you go. Brian's asking in the chat, do we think that Genocide should have been in the tournament? I was thinking about this during the show, actually, and so like there's some love for it in the chat, people saying yes and that sort of thing. Just to jump in first with mine, I actually was glad she wasn't in the tournament. Just because save it, man, because Genocide is dominant. You don't want to see her you got some harsh decisions you got to make if she ends up in that tournament. So for me, It's better that she still stays a spectacle, a special attraction, like it deserves for right now.
Very good.
And we're getting a little into wrestling philosophy, which is something I love to talk about. For me, I don't think that the big powerhouses necessarily need titles. And for that reason, I don't think that she would need to be in a title tournament, because it's a testament to these powerhouses as characters and as athletes. They don't need a title, because the match that they were able to put on, her and Woad, was not bigger than a title, but it was a spectacle in and of itself. It didn't need a title, any title implications attached to it. That's my opinion. That's my wrestling philosophy. I feel that way about across the board when it comes to big guys. That's why I've always hated when Brock Lesnar always had the title. I don't think he needed the title. He could have shown up part-time all those years and been a spectacle without the WWE title. So that's kind of my outlook on it. So I'm with you, Gary. I was a little bit glad that she wasn't in the tournament, to be honest.
Yeah, D, how'd you feel about that?
About her inclusion in the tournament, whether or not she would be a good...
Yeah, Brian Cervantes was asking if we thought, Genocide should be in the tournament.
You see, I think I feel like it's better that she's not in the tournament. That way you have a lot of contenders for the title. Because if she were to be in the tournament, she has a character that cannot afford to win right now, because that character needs to be established as a powerhouse, as a dominant force. So if she were in the tournament, she would have had to have won the whole thing. And now you're just building one person for that challenge. So I feel like now that she's out of the tournament, I'm just happy that she's out of the tournament, because now whoever wins between the two ladies in the finals, you have a lot of viable competitors, viable contenders for said title. I just feel I feel the same way you do. Let her be an attraction, because it's like a Lesnar thing. It's just gonna be, you're just gonna dominate, and which is all well and good as far as the character goes. But if you insert a title into the story, it's just difficult to build a contender for it.
Rob, I almost look at it the same way as like right now, Thunder Rosa doesn't need to be a part of that title tournament. Thunder Rosa's a badass. Thunder Rosa's going to be doing her thing. People are immediately, for me, Genocide and Thunder Rosa are two separate characters that can be thrown into two different matches, and then you have your title match and everything. So you've got like special attractions in those two women. But where do you stand on something like that?
Yeah, I think Thunder Rosa, it would be more appropriate for Thunder Rosa to be in the tournament than Genocide. For all the things that you guys are saying, I mean, you wrestling brings so many things to the table. I mean, wrestling brings first and foremost prize fighting, the contest under gentlemen's rules, and I use that term loosely, gentlemen's rules. Under technical guidelines with technical athletes for a championship, and then there's other things it brings too. It also brings heat, it brings drama, it brings the Greek mythology, it brings the spectacle, it brings the monster. And again, like B was saying earlier, I don't use that term monster in any insulting way. Genocide's a beautiful woman. She's a gorgeous, just a well put together woman. But she is a beast. She is a monster. And this is a woman who really having a title would stifle her. I mean, this is a woman who does not need to be restrained by gentlemen's rules. And that's exactly what it was. Now, I would love to see Thunder Rosa with the title, or La Rosa Negra with the title, take on Genocide. But I think that having a belt implies that you're beholden to certain parameters. A belt necessarily restrains you, and Genocide is not the kind of person that needs to be restrained. That's not her selling point. She is fury. She's fire. She's devastation. She is, she's not going to be boxed in a belt.
If I may add, I just feel that, with this company still being in its infancy, it's such a great company with such an amazing roster that everybody's already playing fantasy booker. So the disadvantage of doing that is that you're already setting up your dream matches, and you're already setting up your dream title reigns. You're already setting up your dream storylines. It's a marathon and not a sprint, and I would be much more invested if they make me wait for it. Because just like talking about Rachel Rose and Maddie Rankowski, that match was very difficult for me to pick a winner. But the fact that they separated them, and then I told myself in the beginning of the night, I'm like, okay, they're going to end up in the finals, and that'll sell the December pay-per-view or the December event. They're not in they still haven't touched in the ring as far as Mission Pro Wrestling goes. So it's making me want it more. It's making me tune into it more. It's going to make me, attend the shows a lot more because of that slow burn. Because everybody knows, out loud that that's the match. When you talk about Genocide getting the title, let that be down the road. Let us take care of these stories. Let us watch these stories. Let us see the build toward that. I feel like when we play Fantasy Booker too quickly, you kind of, you shoot all your fireworks off before, it's even 4th of July.
Yeah, I think I'm with you, D. Like you made a great point about the marathon, and throwing Genocide in that tournament to me would be like right now she's got momentum. Like she's just building and building. She's, we keep using the term monster and that sort of thing. Like she's the Undertaker of Mission Pro Wrestling right now. Like she's really establishing herself that way. And so it's like she doesn't need the title. She doesn't need the tournament. You don't need to have to make that decision on what happens to her in the tournament. Like she will get her shot one day. And that when she does, it's going to be a big, epic deal when it happens. And that's the way it should be. So I think we're all on the same page there. To move this thing along, the next thing that happened, I guess we should mention right after this, Thunder Rosa does come out to the ring, and she invites Jazz down to the ring. And you guys gave a lot of love to Jazz, which brought a tear to my cold, dead heart, because Jazz deserves all of the love and affection she could get from the wrestling industry that I don't think ever has given her just due. There's an announcement, though, that Jazz and Thunder Rosa are partnering up, and Rodney Mack's going to be there, and they are opening a school, the Dog Pound Dojo, and they're going to be training the next generation of female wrestlers. They said they will welcome some dudes in there, but they're going to put the women first. They want to really train women's wrestlers. If I was a lady thinking about being a professional wrestler right now, this would be like immediately like this, just no questions asked. That's where you go. That's right. That's the school. It feels like.
Yeah. There are spinners. There are very respected schools out there. You think of the New Japan LA Dojo. You think of Tried and True in Tennessee. I always look at like there being 3 major centers of wrestling instruction. California, Orange County and LA, and Tennessee and Texas being the other center. And immediately you're looking at Thunder Rosa, who might be the greatest active wrestler, and Jazz, who might be the greatest wrestler of all time, in opening this school, which is now going to be the Harvard, the Yale of women's wrestling instruction. And I think this is a great development. I hope that our podcast will end up sponsoring that school and, helping to support good instruction and training. And then, of course, we're going to start our own school. So,
are we? I don't
How to talk about wrestling on YouTube.
Straight from the best possible school for someone to go to the worst possible school you can go to. Come have Rob teach you how to apply a sleeper hold. Just by hearing him talk.
Man, that was good. That was better than my Michael Cole burn, bro.
Oh man. All right, let's move on to the next matchup. Let's get into the rest of this tournament. La Rosa Negra takes on Maddie Ridkowski. This is where La Rosa Negra left Rob hanging. I definitely noted that. I'm sorry, Rob left her hanging, I guess. I don't know. I did note here that I was just super into it at this point, that I love the sassy Black Rose. Like, she is just the attitude on her and just every move she makes. It's so great. And then I didn't know going into this match who her opponent was. Like, I don't think they kind of established a bracket right before this for us, watching it on Title Match Network at least. And so Maddie came out, and my next note was, "Oh no, Maddie." I was like, "You're so screwed right now." I'm like, La Rosa Negra's on fire, and I feel for you having to compete against her. And but she does put up a fight. These two had a great match up until the point that Maddie is out on the mat, and Jasmine Allure makes a run in on the outside when the ref's back is turned and hits Maddie in the face with the belt. And La Rosa takes quick advantage of that, covers Maddie, gets the 1, 2, 3, and that's it. Our girl Maddie is out of the tournament. La Rosa Negra is moving on into the finals. Rob, I haven't thrown to you first in a while. How did this make you feel?
Great match. Again, these two are going to bring it. I like the fact that Jasmine Allure came in and intervened, only for the fact that it's Maddie saves face. You know, she didn't lose this match clean, so she had an argument. And you know, we'll see her again. Again, I think if you're building a promotion, you got to build it around Maddie Rankowski and Rachel Rose. I did like the fact that as I didn't notice this until I watched the show this morning, but I like how Jazz gave La Rosa Negra a little slap on the booty as she walked out. I don't know, did y'all see that?
I don't think I noticed it.
Yeah, go back and watch it, man. And she's walking out, and sorry, Tanya just walked in and is over here making faces at me. But,
did that really happen, or was that a thing you were making up in your brain later on?
Jazz,
are you still fantasy booking?
There you go.
Jazz gives her a little smack, but I think it was a great match. Again, these two can't have a bad match, and I think it's a good setup for Jasmine Allure and Maddie Rankowski to lock horns here in the future.
D, how'd you feel about this match being there live?
It was a great match. It was more, like you said, Maddie saves face, so that allows that to be open. This was the first storyline development that I saw of the night, which was exciting.
Excellent
for me.
Point.
It was exciting for me. Jasmine Allure came out of nowhere. Jasmine Allure is a very, very talented girl, and a match between those two would be great. Rosa Negra, being the heel, this doesn't hurt her as far as getting that win in that way. She's very cocky. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get through this, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get this win. So it totally fits her character. I didn't see the smack from Jazz, as Rob so eloquently pointed out. I was more about the wrestling, since it's a wrestling show. But
well, not all of us are pros here, unfortunately. This is actually your interview, so we can get Rob out of here. So we can.
But no, it was an awesome match. Good finish. I like the finish. I think the finish would probably disappoint a lot of people, but it was a great finish. To go back to the announcement of the school, though. We are in a generation where you got a lot of wrestlers, trained by Lance Storm, trained by Al Snow, trained by, other greats. In 5 or 10 years, if we have women across the board trained by Jazz and Thunder Rosa, I think we're going to be doing okay.
Yep.
Totally agree there. Will, how'd you feel about this semifinal matchup?
I thought it was great. I love, we've all mentioned it so far, but I like the finish. I think we've been a little jaded with run-in finishes, because of WWE and their oversaturation of that kind of stuff. But when it furthers a storyline, as we've said many times in the past, then it's great. It's a great addition to the match. And you guys are exactly right. I mean, it didn't hurt anyone involved. It set up a feud for us to look forward to in the future with Maddie Rankowski, and it pushed La Rosa Negra one step further in the tournament in a way that, you know, gave her a little bit more heat, and it just put her in a position to win and to get to the finals. So I loved it. I thought it was unexpected, to be honest, and I love things that are unexpected. I wasn't expecting a run-in finish or any kind of interference or anything like that at a Mission Pro show, so I love the element of surprise there, and I thought it was great.
Awesome. Yeah, and so that led us to our next matchup, the final match, the main event, which is pretty cool that these two ladies got to carry the main event of the show. It is Lacey Ryan taking on Rachel Rose. And the knee, like Dee pointed out, the knee would be the story here. Basically, if Lacey won't bend it, the queen's going to break it. And Lacey...
Very well said. Holy crap, though.
Hey, well, thank you. Thank you so much.
He's a
all day.
Whatever.
I worked on that all day.
He's got nothing else. That's all he's got.
That's it. Thank you, everybody, for showing up tonight. We'll talk to you later. Now, these two have a great match, back and forth, all over the place. It's a really, really good match. Rachel's been establishing herself as the heel, and she definitely plays that out here. Towards the end of the match, though, Lacey goes for the German. Rachel fights out, delivers a super kick. Not quite enough. And this is where you start to see, like, I feel like this plays into something Rob talked about, like these different echelons of talent. I felt like they were really telling a story here, too, where Lacey Ryan has a little bit more experience than Rachel Rose does, that Rachel here starts to get frustrated. She takes too long to go for the pin, and then she goes for it. It's not enough. She starts arguing with the referee. So Lacey Ryan has a chance to get up. She hits Rachel with a combo, goes for the pin, can't get the 3 count. Rose manages to get back on the leg and hooks that half crab in, and Ryan gets the ropes, and then Rachel's pissed off again, arguing with the ref, and that inexperience is what's going to cost her here, because Lacey Ryan sneaks up right behind her, does that badass flip GTS, and gets the 1-2-3, and Lacey Ryan is headed to the finals against La Rosa Negra. Will, how'd you feel about this matchup?
It was a great match. You told it very well, but it was a great journey, great story. Again, love the continuity from earlier in the night. I love that kind of stuff. So thought it told a great story. Obviously, the big story comes after that, setting up the next step in this journey. But it was a great match.
Yeah. Dee, was this match as epic as it felt watching it on television?
God, it was. Yes, it was. And it was definitely the veteran versus, scrappy, arrogant, up-and-comer type of story. I feel like, they had their cards set, and Rachel Rose being in this match, particularly at this time, was... she is a star. She has the aura. She has the energy when she walks in. She has the confidence. Now let's see how she handles herself carrying a main event with somebody as experienced as Lacey Ryan. And she kept up. That girl's a star. That girl's a star, and this is a small, let's go see how you do. Let's go see how it is. Let's see how the public reacts. And it was just a great main event. And I'm sure we're going to get into the post-match shenanigans, but the match itself was a great, great match.
Lacey Ryan has a certain authority about her when she comes out. Again, going back to the different echelons, I think La Rosa Negra carries that same authority. Not to say that Rachel Rose doesn't. It's purely an experience thing, and that comes over time when you get the seasoning in and you get the respect of the locker room and all that. This was a great main event. I mean, this was a fantastic main event. There was a lot of emotion in there. Rachel Rosa, there's a couple of things that she did like at the beginning, and I have to remember if it was either this match or her first match. Thunder Rosa does this little scraping of the the little dirt kick thing that she does.
Yeah,
and Rachel Rosa, I never saw her do that. She did. I think it was this match. She walks out and she does the same thing, and I just think that's cool, man. It's like that. That's an assertion of authority too, and it was fantastic. Of course, I love seeing these two lock up. Anytime Rachel Rosa, the future of the business, locks up, it's a big deal. I will say, it looked to me from my vantage point that it was a fast count at the end. And that Lacey Ryan had a handful of trunks when she made a pin.
Did you say, what the hell was all that? Holy crap.
My contact might have been a little a contact. But it was a good match, man. What you saw is what we saw, but the energy in that building for this match was, and Dee will tell you, man, this crowd was into this. It was loud. They're both active, and you just got to be at Pinball's Kingdom, man. This is a good venue for this kind of match, and they delivered. And then
Well, I was going to say, I mean, the thing that stood out to me is like when this match was over, I thought, I don't know, Lacey Ryan is such a machine. La Rosa Negra looks incredible in the ring. I felt like immediately once the 3 hit, I was like, this is the right matchup. This is what it should be. This is perfect. La Rosa Negra versus Lacey Ryan. This is going to be incredible. This is how you sell that next show. And so what we're alluding to here, if you didn't see it, is at the end of the match, Lacey Ryan is celebrating in the ring. La Rosa Negra comes down, and now knowing who her competitor is going to be for the finals, for the very first Mission Pro Wrestling Championship, and greets her in the ring. They seem to shake hands, raise arms together. Looks like they're ready to face off, and La Rosa Negra immediately starts taking Lacey Ryan out, just kicking the leg, just beating her down. Lacey Ryan, though, she's a machine. Like I said, she's fighting back. It ends up taking the entire locker room to come out there and separate these two, and they have that awesome, like, just everybody's trying their best, but somebody breaks loose, and they're just, like, jumping through the crowd, like, to get to the other one. And if you weren't sure before, you're sure now. You need to see La Rosa Negra take on Lacey Ryan. These two women have to fight, and it's going to be a grudge match, but it's also going to be for the very first person to hold the Mission Pro Wrestling Championship. And I could not be more excited about December 11th than Run It Back. Like, that show's going to be amazing, if for nothing else, this match. But there's so much more to look forward to. But yeah, Dee, I mean, what did you feel like by the time this thing wrapped up? I mean, was this it? This, like, you're feeling it for this being the main event?
As soon as that angle happened, I signed my sponsorship packages to come back for the next event. That was just amazing. Because it was such a build-up. There was like, if that angle was a match, there was like 3 false finishes to that angle, because she comes out, shakes the hand, we get the photo op of the face-off, and then you're like, okay, you're selling it, I get it. And then the whole arm raise, that was good. As soon as Lacey Ryan took one step forward, that pit bull mentality, gonna eat everything up, she kicked her leg out of her leg, is what she did. And rest in peace, Owen Hart. But it was cool because this is the other false finish. I thought that was going to be it. She was going to do the walk off and, give her the bad look. And then they start brawling. And as soon as I saw Lacey Ryan get the advantage on her, I was like, okay, so this is like a brawl. And then the locker room comes out. They separate them. That would be, cut. Good job, everybody. But I love those brawls, just like you said, that somebody gets loose and just jumps across the entire ring to get to them. And I don't know if the camera caught what Rosa Negra was saying on the way out, but she was just like, she was angry. She was the 11th. I'm coming for my belt. And that's when she grabbed my camera, because she was angry that I was recording.
Yeah. I mean, I was watching it, and I mean, it's more than just Rob. I think this was a little bit even bigger because you're not only seeing. I know we're only 2 shows deep, but for the first time, you also saw it get to the point that not only is the locker room out there, as Dee was talking, it hit me too. I mean, Robin Reed came out there. Robin Reed had to like settle down the group and be like, y'all need to back off. And like eventually like Jazz walked out there and was standing in the middle of them. And nobody's going to go through Jazz.
No, yeah, that's when I got scared. I thought Jazz was going to go in there and just like give the mom energy. Like, you better sit your ass down. Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
You see like the ideological division of the locker room. You see Maddie Ridkowski and I think it was Lynn walking Rosa Negra back. Thunder Rosa came out and was like, get back in the locker room. I mean, it looked like a fight, man. It looked like a fight.
That's good. Will, how'd you feel catching that ending?
It was perfect, man. The perfect way to, again, tie a bow on, the whole story, selling the leg injury, selling all that. Of course, La Rosa Negra and this new, as you call it, Gary, this sassy version of her coming out and having an eye for opportunity and saying, oh, okay, I'm going to go out, I'm going to be friendly, and then I'm going to take that knee out and give myself an advantage because it's only a little over a month away. That's not a long time, guys. We're like, we now have to start gearing up for this title fight. And so, she's going out there trying to get that advantage and get that mental upper hand. And it was just such a great story. I love seeing the locker room clear. It was almost like a curtain call for all those ladies that we had appreciated all through the night, get to see them run back out one more time. So that was kind of poetic in my opinion. But yeah, it was a perfect setup, perfect way to get me and obviously all of us, but everyone else to buy in to run it back and make sure that we've secured our Title Match Network subscription or our tickets to be there. So it's going to be killer. I can't wait.
Absolutely. That's Run It Back is December the 11th. If you haven't already, if for some reason you're hearing this and you haven't signed up for the Title Match Network, or you're not already following Mission Pro Wrestling over at Mission Pro Res, WRES, you need to go follow those folks on Twitter, everywhere, because this is the future of women's professional wrestling, maybe professional wrestling in general. Dee, I know you've got to do your own thing. Thank you so much for doing this with us, man. It's good to actually get to sit down and talk to you for a little bit.
Oh no, thanks a lot for having me, man. Who doesn't like to talk about wrestling? I appreciate you guys having me, and look, whenever you guys want, I'll jump back in. I appreciate you guys.
Oh yeah, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship, and we can definitely make that happen. You guys follow Dee on his DNC Digital on YouTube, on Instagram, all of the stuff, right?
Let me say something before
DNC Digital on Instagram. What was that?
I said I wanted to say something before you go, man. I want to say, like, this is a man who obviously has a fantastic beard. But you got to see this mustache in person, man. This mustache.
Oh, I gotta.
This mustache is glorious, bro. Look at that.
There, you can see it.
That is my man right there, boy.
I appreciate that. You guys can follow me at DNC Digital on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Go ahead and subscribe to DNC Digital on YouTube. Hit the bell notification. Hit me with likes and comments. And I like to interact with people, so go ahead and leave a comment. I have a bunch of interviews that are all separated into playlists, so you can follow them accordingly. DNC TV are all my on-camera interviews. DNC Radio is my podcast audio-only interview. And the Mission Pro Wrestling, obviously, is all the ladies from Mission Pro Wrestling.
Perfect. Well, Dee, I know you got to take care of family stuff, so thank you again for doing this, brother. You have a good rest of your night, and I'm sure everybody will see Dee again soon.
I appreciate you guys. Have a great night.
You too, brother. Thank you. Yeah. All right, fellas. Well, we wrapped up Mission Pro Wrestling, but our night is just beginning because we've still got.
Well, I'm invoking my pee break, so I'll be right back.
Will's going to invoke the pee break. All right, fair enough. Rob, it's just me and you. I think we're alone now. Da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba.
Let's do the harmony. I think we're alone.
Low now. I went bass. Do you like that?
Let's do it again.
I think we're alone. Oh my God, we're killing it. Oh, Broadway, here we come. This is the NWA show live on Broadway. You're gonna hear it. The musical version. I think maybe we do that. Maybe we start maybe we do the full gear results completely in musical format.
Just like, yes, a 750 musical. Today is the 750th day of Nick Aldis's title reign.
Man, that's the big news, right? That's what we should definitely lead into the news. 750 days. You mocked up that awesome Pro Wrestling Illustrated cover with Nick Aldis on it. That's cool, man. That's I don't know. I love it. I think that's good stuff, man.
You go back to that 84 Ric Flair cover, man. That for me is like the most iconic. I mean, there's a lot of great PWI covers, man. And people can say what they want about the nature of the publication and all that, but they are iconic. Those covers are money. And that Ric Flair cover, I've always felt it's like, man, it's time. We got to have Nick Aldis on the cover of PWI, man. It's time. I mean, he deserves the respect. He is the current statesman in pro wrestling. We got Elder Sauer in the chat.
Elder Sauer.
Yeah, man. And he'll tell you, I mean, when you think PWI, you think that Ric Flair issue with him holding that beautiful Sweet Charlotte, that 10 pounds of gold. And I just wanted to recreate that issue with Nick Aldis as a tribute to this very historic day, day 750.
I'm going to do the same thing Will did. So,
well, keep your Bluetooth headphone in, because while I was in there peeing, I was just listening to you guys sing. Apparently, I was like, "What is happening?" So that was fun.
We had that harmony too. I was like, "Hey," and I didn't even break out. I was like,
"Yeah, you were holding back, man. You were holding back."
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, 750 days. I'll weigh in on that, man. That's, I know we got naysayers who want to talk about COVID and all this stuff. Nick Aldis hitting 750 days is a gigantic accomplishment. He has reestablished the NWA, and there's all kind of conversations about it, and I get it when you look at history and all that kind of stuff. But I think what you did, Rob, and as a graphic designer, I commend you for the job that you did recreating that iconic cover, because you're right. That's the one, man. That's the one you think of when you think of Ric Flair on PWI. That's the cover. And so recreating that, you did a great job. I think it's a great commemoration of day 750. And man, who knows? I mean, we're going to see him defend the title against Brian Pillman Jr. In person. The three of us will be there next month. So I mean, sky's the limit for Nick Aldis at this point, and I'm proud that he's our champion. I'll say that.
Yeah, and we're talking about, as you were saying, Will, you can say what you want about the reign, and COVID having affected everybody, and him not getting in the defenses that he has wanted to get in those last 100 days or so, or more than that, going back to March. He certainly would have, but he's had some credible defenses here within the last month or so, and he's got a big one coming up that we're going to be at against Brian Pillman Jr. He just beat Mike Bennett. No, I mean, that was legit. We all saw it. They're probably going to end up locking horns again. But Brian Pillman Jr., one of the hottest commodities, one of the biggest, most talked about names. He's been on AEW Dark. He's been on AEW. He's been on Talking Shop Mania. I mean, this is a guy who a lot of people are very enthusiastic about. He's a second-generation superstar, obviously, and he's going to be bringing in, and we're going to be there ringside seeing that.
That's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to be a part of that one. You guys look for that. The tickets are out there, man. It's going to be a good show. I'm excited to do it. We got plenty of news to talk about, but I think we should just jump into. We've had a lot of people talking about this AEW show that happened last night. A little indie show called Full Gear. If you guys have heard of it, but anyway, so apparently it was a big deal, and we've got results on it. And you guys feeling good? You wanna jump into that and dive into what happened and give your thoughts?
Let's do it.
All right, good. I'm glad you said yes because you don't have a choice. I'm already there now.
Oh, I do have a choice. I can just leave.
That's true. That's a good point. Please don't leave. This will not be nearly as exciting for everyone.
Well, since you said please.
All right.
Well, as soon as I leave, you guys start singing. So.
Yeah, I saw that James H. Jackson Jr. in the chat. Without Will's supervision, that's what happens. Singing.
You can't leave him alone.
Guys, I'm so happy that Elder Sour's in the chat. Welcome back, Elder Sour. He's been gone for a long time out of the wrestling community, it feels like. And he is back tonight. This is a big deal. So make sure you say hello to Elder Sour. Woodland Goblin tried to get me in trouble. Gary, you got to do your deep seductive voice for Tanya. That's whoa. Wait a minute.
Goblin. Whoa. What's Brian Rosa saying up in there? Hold on. Put that quote
Oh,
up.
Brian Rosa, he's selling a Braves hat if anybody wants one.
I told Brian, I said, look, man, I want you to wear this. This is my colors. And I was like, you've had Eddie Matthews, Phil Negro, Hank Aaron, Chipper Jones, Freddie Freeman, Dale Murphy. All these great men have worn this. And because you're my brother, I want you to represent my colors, man. And he wore that hat all night. I was so proud of him. I told him, I said, man, Brian. And Brian's got a huge head, man. His head is like big. So that was the biggest, like, that hat, like, you had a big carnival going on in the background, and then you had Brian Rosa's big head walking back and forth with that brace out on. It was perfect, man.
I don't know if you're trying to make friends or enemies tonight, Rob, but you're doing a great job either way.
He will tell you. He'll tell you. He knows his head's big.
So AEW Full Gear happened. AEW Full Gear happened last night. I am going off of, just to give proper credit where it is due, I'm going off the results listed at the Pro Wrestling Torch, written up by Wade Keller himself. And so that's what I'm reading from here. If you watch the pre-show, the buy-in, as they called it, they did some great video packages, by the way. I gotta hand it to these guys. I have been like watching highlight clips of AEW, but my God, these video packages they put together are brilliant, especially Cinderella Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gone playing over the story of Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. That is gorgeous. Like that just, I don't know. I felt that one. Anyway, that out of the way, this relates to the show most of all because in the buy-in, Serena Deeb defending the NWA Women's Championship against Allison Kay. And the matchup itself was pretty good. I mean, it was a solid matchup. I think I did enjoy the Deeb and Thunder Rosa match a little bit more. These ladies, I don't know if they had quite as much time, so that probably was part of it. But Allison looked amazing. I expected, they said at one point during the matchup, they were like, Allison Kay recently announcing her free agency. We'll talk more about that later on. And I was like, oh, did they sign Allison Kay? Is that what we're about to hear? If it happened, we did not hear about it last night. But the Kay does go for her finisher. It gets reversed somehow, and Serena hits the Serenity Lock is what I have here. And she makes Allison Kay tap out and retains the NWA Women's title. And after the match, much to all of our surprise, La Mera herself shows up on AEW Full Gear and approaches and confronts Allison Kay face off in the middle of the ring. Thunder Rosa says she wants that title back, it looks like. And no brutality here, just letting her know, and walks out. So Thunder Rosa gets that win back. See, this is what I was talking about, Rob. Thunder Rosa gets that win back on Ray Lynn, and immediately she's like, you know what? Screw it. I'm driving to Jacksonville. And so she did.
Look, we had just gotten back in, man. We went and got something to eat. When we was out trying to watch this Georgia-Florida game. Next thing I know, Thunder Rosa, who I had just seen now, I had just seen her like hours before. There she is on AEW. I was like, what kind of time warp is I'm living in, man? Oh, by the way, Mike Stinson in the chat. That is the one and only Mike Stinson, who is the brother of yours truly, my brother, in the chat tonight. So
the better of the Stinsons,
also known as Little Jimmy Morton, referee Little Jimmy Morton from AWF notoriety.
Oh, okay. But
yeah, man, they were like
I was going to say, you just left that in a really weird spot.
Yeah, it's like
you just dropped
I was
off.
like, Thunder Rosa out there? You made me go up another octave.
Oh man, no, it was a cool match. Will, you have any thoughts there to add into this?
No, it was a good match. I really enjoyed seeing Allison Kay on AEW. I mean, Serena D, she positioned herself as a champion, in my opinion. I will correct you on one thing, and I don't know if you were saying this sarcastically, but I was not surprised to see Thunder Rosa walk out. I was primed and ready to see her, and that, I mean, naturally, I mean, that's her title, and so she wants it back, and she's entitled to a rematch. So of course she's gonna take it. So
it's not that I wasn't surprised by the notion of her, the proposition of her challenging Serena Deeb, because I think we know it's inevitable. I was just surprised to see her because I had just seen her. You know, I was like, we were just in Texas, and how's she going to show up?
And Rob doesn't know that planes have been invented yet, so he doesn't.
I know, but listen, man, it's not like
I'll give Rob this. I mean, it just, she busted her ass putting together a whole show the night before. Who knows what time
they take the ring down? You got to pay people out. They're not. Brian and Mel are not leaving Buda, Texas, until the wee hours of the morning. Man, they were there. Like, because we left and it was late, and they still had work to do. You know, they had. I mean, it blew my mind. I'm with you, Will. We knew that this confrontation was going to happen at some point. I was just really sincerely like, there was no hint of it, and nobody said anything. There was no dropping. Brian likes to drop these little hints all the time. None of that happened, man. It was like, we were sitting there watching this buy-in, and there she walks out. I was like, I even said to Tanya, I was like, dude, it'd have been so cool to have Thunder Rosa here tonight. And then, boom, there she is. I'm like, shut up. Like that, what are you talking about? That did not just happen. And it's like, it totally did. It pulled an M. Night Shyamalan on me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I will say Keller in his report was not a fan of this matchup being on the show. He said, I'm not a fan of having these two women on the show. No, he says he's not. Mainly, what he's saying here is he's not a fan of having two women's titles being competed for in AEW. Either sign the women to fight for an AEW title or not, but having two titles from an outside organization, one from an outside organization, it doesn't make sense. Diminishes the value of the AEW women's title significantly. That was Wade Keller there with his, if he were here in one of these corners, that's what he would have said.
Mm-hmm.
Rob, what you think?
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I think that he has an informed opinion, but it's not an authoritative opinion any more than ours is. I think it was fantastic. And anytime you get to showcase the meta title, which is the Burke, do it. And this is what we've been preaching for months and months and months. I mean, I want to see this belt on every show. If Vince McMahon had the guts, he'd put it on his show.
Yeah, I think my thought there, my point there would be that it's not as if you should pretend like other titles don't exist. Right. AEW is not the company that doesn't acknowledge any other company. They know New Japan and WWE and all these other companies are out there. So I don't feel like it diminishes their title.
I want, because I really want people to understand this point about how different NWA is and what we really believe in when it comes to, pushing in and presenting a prize fighting championship. You look at like, the Olympic gold medal. Everybody, that is what you want to aspire to. You want to win that gold medal. But there are other gold medals. There are world championships and this and that. That Olympic gold medal is the one that is the one. And whatever happens in the future, we don't know, where the turns that Thunder Rosa's career is going to take. We know she's going to be the most important female player, period, for whatever direction she goes in. But that Burke trophy, man, the Burke trophy that Allison Kay first wore, but that Thunder Rosa made an iconic trophy again. I mean, you have to understand that if you're trying to position yourself and posit yourself as a credible wrestling promotion, I think it is to AEW's great credit that they continue week after week to showcase this championship. Because ultimately, not for everybody, for people like us who care about history, legacy, and tradition, this is the belt that matters the most. The AEW Women's Championship held by Hikaru Shida is a great title. I think Thunder Rosa would wear it proudly. She probably will hold it at some point. But it's the Burke, man. It's about the Burke. That's the one that we love, and that's the trophy that goes back. It's the lineal title. It goes back to Debbie Combs. It goes back to Mildred Burke. It goes back to the Fabulous Moolah. That is the one. And this is beyond personalities. It's beyond Billy Corgan. It's beyond anybody. This is a trophy that is the iconic trophy that it exists, and it exists out there. It belongs to the people. It's our trophy, and Thunder Rosa should go for it, and she should hold it. And that trophy being showcased only brings credit to whatever promotion showcases it.
I will say this too. I've got a buddy named Miles who is a huge AEW mark. Like he loves AEW, and he's in a couple of discords about AEW. And he actually texted me last night after this matchup and was like, "Hey man, I just thought you'd like to know, in all of these group chats and discords that I'm in right now, everybody thought that AK and Serena Deeb had a badass match, and they love Thunder Rosa." And they're all talking about how we really got to start watching more NWA stuff. And I was like, well, that is the goal, right? Like, that's what you want. So that's why this partnership is supposed to happen. So if that's any indication, I mean, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do.
Right. And again, I don't want to keep filibustering this, but it's no, we
got to get it out of election season.
It's no mistake.
You guys just let me know when I can talk.
Well, I think
who was that? Who is that? Is there another voice?
I'll just leave.
You guys jump in on what I'm about to say. You're gonna piggyback on this because I think it's not a mistake that we are so enthusiastic about Mission Pro, and what they're doing there, and the style and the presentation of this motion. It is real prize fight wrestling. And that is what the NWA is. And so if people who like NWA are naturally going to be inclined to like Mission Pro. It's the nature of the case.
I just got to throw this in, Rob. Brian saying, I have to give Rob credit. He was breaking down after the show. Thank you. Did you cry in front of Brian Rosa, Rob?
Well, first of all, my contact was really infected. Okay. Now we were talking about, I think he's talking about getting to help break down the ring. We got to break down the ring and put the chairs back and all that. And I just, happy to help out. If I can lend any service other than our sponsorship money, and the money is going to come in, and that's important. But little things like helping them out with breaking down the ring and all that. That was a privilege to do that. So,
yeah. Elder Sauer wondering if he put Will in a timeout. No, but feel free at any point.
I put myself in timeout because why am I even here? You guys are just carrying it.
All right, let's move on to the main paper.
Can I talk about Wade Barrett? Can I talk about Wade Barrett? Wade
Sure.
Keller.
Please.
I'm sorry. It's been so long.
Let's have your essay on Wade Barrett.
It's been so long since I've spoken. I've forgotten how to because you guys have just been filibustering, as Rob likes to call it, for so long. I think that Wade Keller is paid to assess wrestling in 2020 terms from the perspective of WWE being the lens and the top of the food chain. And I think, like you said, Rob, that is informed, so to speak, but it's not looking at wrestling historically. Go back and watch wrestling shows all throughout history. You see multiple promotions titles, multiple regions, territories, all that kind of stuff. It's not uncommon in the scope of wrestling history to have different titles on the same show. It doesn't degrade any of them. They all represent a certain level of greatness. And I think that assessment is kind of born out of this 2020 idea that wrestling promotions should be insecure and competitive, ultra competitive to the extent that they don't even acknowledge other promotions. And that's not what the NWA is or has ever been. And I, for one, am thankful that AEW isn't playing by those rules either, that they are willing to, and you can say what you want about it being on the buy-in, the pre-show, whatever, it was still a fixture on the show. It's been talked about, it's been spotlighted, and I'm thankful for that. And I think it's great for the world of wrestling that a nationally televised wrestling program is doing that. And so I don't think AEW is concerned about what Wade Keller's saying. I don't think Tony Khan cares. I think he is a fan of professional wrestling, and he sees the value in putting the NWA women's title on the show.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. Tony Khan just seems open to like have some fun and let's mix things up a little bit. So yeah, I think he sees the NWA Women's Championship as a valuable title. I think he also agrees that the talent involved in all of this is a big deal as well.
And for what it's worth, I love Wade Barrett. He's a hell of a guy.
and they regard the title as a world's title. They call it the NWA World's Women's Championship, which is a great tribute and a great show of respect. So what's the hey, John Farmer in the chat? What's for Thanksgiving? Hopefully, yeah. Gosh, man.
Not
hopefully, hopefully about to see a lot more of Camille if we get Power off the ground here real soon. She's killing it right now. Got a new career in real estate. And I don't know if you guys saw the video. Nick Aldis's birthday was just the other day too, Will. And y'all the day before yours, and there's this really just endearing, very sweet video of them giving Nick Aldis his cake, his birthday cake, and singing him the birthday song. And he looks like he's so giddy, man. He looks like a 12-year-old kid just smiling and they're all there, man. Tom Latimer's there and Camille's there and all that, and they're just celebrating that day, and it was pretty cool. But
it really sounds like you're describing a fever dream you had, Rob.
Aldis was there, and Camille was there, and Tom Latimer was there, and Tom Latimer was in Scottish garb, and
yeah. Luthez was there. Luthez was there.
Now I'm moving on into the main card.
Was there.
The very first match on the AEW Full Gear show was Kenny Omega versus Hangman Adam Page. Don Callis joined the broadcast team for this match, oddly enough. Justin Roberts in the ring listed a ton of accolades as he introduced Kenny Omega. Women came out onto the stage with brooms. Ross asked Callis to explain the name The Cleaner because these women were like dancing this weird dance with the brooms and stuff. Excalibur said something about video games that didn't really explain anything. He mentioned it being something he was called in Japan. Well, enough said, I guess. Anyway, Excalibur said Omega has heard the critics and he's here to shut them up tonight. As Page made his ring entrance, Ross said Page looked like a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. A little on edge. Omega offered a handshake mid-ring. Page had some intense words for him and did not accept the handshake. A minute in, Omega took Page down with a snap rata, so Page rolled to the ringside. When Omega ran the ropes, Page met him with a boot to face and then landed a follow-away slam and a kip-up. They took it to ringside where Omega landed a springboard moonsault onto Page at ringside off the barricade. Omega controlled the ring for a while. He slipped a little on a standing moonsault that indicated a sore knee afterward. Omega flipped onto Page at ringside. Callis talked about Omega's history of long, high-pressure matches in Japan and that he doesn't panic. Back in the ring, he had a top rope drop kick and scored a 2 count. A couple of minutes later, As they fall to the ramp, Page caught Omega midair, powerbombed him. Back in the ring, he landed a pop-up powerbomb for a near fall. The 2 bumps cannot be good for Omega's brain. That's Wade Keller's editorial. Let's see. What?
Wade Barrett
editorializing. His head bounced off the ramp on the mat each time. Callis said this is the best he's ever seen Page look. We got our weather update from Ross, who noted it's 79 degrees and perfect.
Wait, is this still the fever dream?
I think so. I'm just reading like Wade Keller's.
And then the Road Warriors came out.
Omega hit Page with Tiger Driver 98, and it looked nasty, leading to a near fall. Omega went for the V trigger, but Page ducked, hit a spinning forearm. Omega came back with a discus elbow and a snapdragon. Page fired back with a quick hard lariat, then a deadeye for a very near fall. Page sat down on an Omega crucifix attempt for a near fall. After a few more minutes of exchanges, Omega finished Page with the one-winged angel for the 3 count. Wade Keller gave it 4 stars and said, really good match starting to finish. I still have no idea how viewers are being steered to feel about Omega and Page at this point. The match lost something in that regard, as the fans who were there and probably viewers at home were rooting for moves and drama, but not really a particular outcome, I suspect. Will, I'll throw to you. Do you have any thoughts on this particular matchup, the Kenny Omega, Adam Page feud? Or we'll just listen to Rob play music.
Whatever Rob's doing.
Yeah,
he heard out. Rob heard I was about to speak, and he was like, "Oh, screw this! I'm gonna listen to this." It's funny. I have more criticisms about Wade Keller's editorializing throughout that, but I'm not gonna harp on that. I love this feud. I'm very bought into it, because I love both these guys. I think they're, Kenny Omega has already achieved superstardom in Japan. He's on his way to recreating that, I feel like, in AEW. But Adam Page, to me, is one of the breakout stars of AEW, of all this. And so him being involved in this storyline, and to Keller's point about he's not sure how we're supposed to feel, I think that is the point. You're supposed to just pick a side and whoever you like. I mean, they're not trying to bury either one of these guys. They're trying to elevate both of them through the storyline. So I think they're on the right path. I think Kenny winning was probably the best outcome that could have happened, and him winning clean and all that. I don't think it's over by any means. So we'll see what happens, with this story moving forward. But it was a killer match to start out with. Don Callis being on the call. I just, my first exposure, like a lot of us, to Kenny Omega was in New Japan, and hearing Callis on that call just kind of brings that memory back. So I thought that was a cool touch.
Rob, your thoughts?
I always wonder what it is about Kenny Omega that's so controversial. Like, why people have trouble acknowledging how great a wrestler this is. I mean, his matches with Chris Jericho are some of the greatest of all time. I'm talking about Ricky Steamboat, Macho Man Randy Savage are great. You know what I mean? They're great matches. And I don't know. Maybe you guys can inform me why he strikes such a chord with people. And this match again, man. I mean, it's a. Go ahead.
It's probably Meltzer and Keller, because they've been such marks for him that I think everybody. It's a lot of reactive stuff. Nobody's really watching him and objectively saying whether he's good or bad. They're just saying, oh, well, if Meltzer is giving all his matches 5 stars, then we hate him. So it's just a lot of stuff.
It goes into that New Japan thing. Yeah, I think where Omega comes from. And then I think right now, I mean, I don't want to start a fight, but I think a lot of us as Cornettes latched on to the Kenny Olivier thing, and that he's garbage. And so that gets people fired up in one direction. I don't know, man. The guy is not my favorite wrestler, but he's certainly very good. And I mean, I feel like, I think he's a talented dude.
I mean, I hear Cornette and stuff, and it makes me it almost makes me watch Kenny with a more critical eye than I think I should, because I'm always watching. I'm like, let me see what am I missing here, because I'm always very impressed by him. Always. I mean, I think like he is one of the most technically. I mean, this guy is like AJ Styles good. You know what I mean? I mean, technically, he is. There's very few people that are at his level, and this Kenny Page, Hangman Page Kenny Omega match was everything. I mean, it's a main event match, dude. It's a classic. This is a great match, and I want to be teachable, and I want to listen to people who speak with authority and have informed opinions, and hear what they're saying. But I'm looking at this and I think, gosh, dude, these are great wrestlers, and they're doing great things, you know.
Yeah, I think this match was really solid. I enjoyed this match. It was a very good match. I mean, in fact, this whole show was extremely, extremely good. I mean, I say that it was a little long for my taste, but we'll get into that. But there are matches that they could have done without. This was not one of them. This match was a very good match, and this feud has been good. And I heard someone say this, so I don't want to take full credit for it, but I 100% agree that one of the cool parts has been with AEW that this seems so well booked that where you might have thought the idea would be that they would one day fight. Like, one of the cool things AEW, I figured out the best way to word this, sorry. One of the cool things that AEW is doing is like the obvious stuff that they should do that seems like the obvious move storyline-wise. They're not afraid of still doing that, even though that's the obvious thing that should be happening storyline-wise. They still go with it because, I mean, it's obvious because it's the thing that should happen. Like Kenny Omega and Hangman Page get together and they have disputes because eventually they're going to break up. And you don't avoid that because people will predict that. No, you should. And when they had the tournament and they were both in it on opposite sides, a lot of people predicted, oh, this is where they'll have their first match. And they did it. And they should. It shouldn't have broken down. And now what's cool is these two guys are fighting. And the point I was going to make that I heard from someone is that not only now is it a big deal that they've built up to this point that you knew they were going to fight, then they let them fight. Something about the story has flowed so well, getting to even that point, that the real money later is going to be when they get back together again. It's going to be huge, and it shouldn't happen for another at least over a year from now. But one day, when they become friends again and people, it'll be well after again, people know they want it. But this is the whole thing now, like this Kenny Omega Hangman Page story. So I think that's cool that AEW is doing that. Speaking of, well, no, we're getting there. I was going to say I thought the Cody match was next, but that's another one where I thought like this is what should happen, and it did happen. But anyway, the next match on this card was one that I enjoyed, but I thought could have been left off the main show. Maybe should have been on the buy-in if you wanted to shorten the length of the actual show itself. It was Orange Cassidy versus John Silver. I won't spend so long on all these recaps as I did that last one. I think I've got killer speed down, so I can skip through all the minutia. But essentially here, if you guys haven't seen John Silver yet on AEW, I am becoming a fan of John Silver. I don't know what this guy is. Like, he's part of the Dark Order, and
he's Dark Order, isn't he?
Yeah. But he's got like a unique personality. I heard Tony Khan on an interview a couple of days ago talk about him and say that he knew he was a good wrestler. They put him in Dark Order just to use him there to have some place for him. And then the other guys had been using him on their Being the Elite shows. And he said he watched him on Being the Elite. And Tony Khan said, like, constantly, he was like, I freaking love this guy. Like, who is this guy? And he said he finally had to like call him into the office a couple of weeks ago and said, like, John, you got to sit down, man. And he said he brought him in. He was just like, you're pissing me off. Like, what's going on? And he said, like, he got all worried. Like, what am I doing, man? What am I doing? He's like, I saw you on Being the Elite. He's like, what'd I say? What'd I say? He's like, no, it's what you're not saying. Like, who is that guy? Why is that guy not on AEW every week? Like, why don't you do that? And he's like, well, I didn't think you'd want me to do that. I thought I was doing like the Dark Order stuff. And he's like, no, dude, make yourself. Like, that guy is the guy you're supposed to be. And it's amazing. Like this, there's something. Elder Sauer in the chat saying Silver is the modern Buzz Sawyer, is how he's describing it. But
that's
yeah,
good. That's a really good analogy. That's a really good analogy.
He's just I think Excalibur on the show this last night's show called him he's like a human bowling ball. It's like he just is. He's like this stout, muscled up, just crazy guy, and he's just fun to watch. Like he's just got this energy about him, and he's exciting. And him and Orange Cassidy had a hell of a match. And like not much of the stuff that people hate from Orange Cassidy, because he did start off that way with the hands in the pockets, but immediately like Silver slams him and literally rips his pockets off. It's like, you're not doing this with me. And then they actually have a legitimate match, and they go back and forth. But Cassidy does hit the Michinoku driver, and I think Silver did kick out of that, but he hits the orange punch right after and gets the 3 count. And it was a good match, just like a hard hitting match too. And like I said, I think the thing I like the most is I love how Orange Cassidy's also evolved a little bit more here, that he's not, it was a slow build to get him to this point, but he's not just that dude anymore with his hands in his pockets. Like he gets into the matches, like he takes him a second to get revved up, but then he can wrestle, man.
Yeah, he discards the apathy, and Orange Cassidy is developing into someone that we can take seriously. He was one of those gimmick guys at first that for people like us that didn't really sit well, but that's changing with him, and we're seeing that. We've seen that over the course of the last 2 shows, 2 big pay-per-views. I do want to go back to Elder Sauer's comment, because the Buzz Sawyer thing, man, that's really true if you look at him. He not only looks like Buzz Sawyer, but he's very gritty. And you have to remember, and you guys might be too young to remember this, but Buzz Sawyer was the foil. When I was growing up, even before Ric Flair was the biggest thing in the world, Tommy Wildfire Rich was the biggest thing in the world in Georgia. And he was the hottest name. And his arch rival was Buzz Sawyer. They had a classic match that's known in history as the Last Battle of Atlanta. It was a cage match, and it was brutal. And this guy was just like Nick Chubb for the Georgia Bulldogs, man. He was just a bowling ball, just a buzzsaw. And he had a brother, Brett Sawyer and Buzz Sawyer, and they were just a very brutal, gritty team. And I get that same vibe from Silver, very much so. I mean, it's like the more that Front Row or Elder Sauer said that, it blew my mind, man. It's like you need to go back on YouTube and dig up some Buzz Sawyer stuff, because that's a great analogy.
I loved the ripping out of the pockets. That was probably my favorite part of the whole match. Like it embodied kind of what was going on and positioned Silver as this just like, man, I'm not taking your shit. You're not doing this to me. I'll rip your pockets out of your pants. Like that was just such a cool touch, I thought. But yeah, I mean, Orange Cassidy was a gimmick that as Rob said, from our perspective, we could probably be a little critical of. I personally liked it because I don't feel like they overdid it, which is, I think, the tendency with a gimmick like that. I think they would sprinkle it in there, but I like that he's broken out of that, and I think Chris Jericho has helped bring him to this level, his feud with him, which is another testament to Jericho. But yeah, this was a great little match. I thought both guys came out looking strong and establishing themselves, and glad that both of them had a match on the pay-per-view card. I think it was well deserved.
Yeah, 100% agree. The next matchup was Cody versus Darby Allin for the TNT title. Before the match, a video package recapped the backstory. Darby shows up driving in on an old beater car, and it has on the front of it, I think it says the face of AEW, and he smashes it with his skateboard, and he rolls in by himself. Cody comes out next, and he's accompanied by Brandy Rhodes, Dustin, Arn Anderson, the Gun Club, Lee Johnson, QT Marshall. And so he's got like his whole Nightmare family with him, and Darby's just kind of alone in the corner. And I liked this dichotomy between the two. And so before I was leading into this when I was telling my buddy that watches AEW, I was like, I really feel like Darby has to win this match. Like, they fought before, and Cody got the best of him, but Darby's that guy that's like on the come up, but he's similar to how we were just talking about Mission Pro Wrestling. I look at Darby in this scenario too, that like there's this echelon of AEW guys that they're like, their guys are like Chris Jericho, Cody Rhodes, and maybe
Omega.
Yeah, Omega, and maybe you throw in the Bucks, like all of that stuff in there. There's those guys who, like Rob mentioned before, established the credibility of the company, but then there's this lower brand of guys. I don't want to say lower brand of guys, but the rookies, essentially. They aren't necessarily rookies, but they're the new guys, the new faces. And there's like Darby Allin, the Orange Cassidy. There's Ricky Starks would probably be technically in that field of people. And MJF even, like they're the guys that are like moving into position to become the stars of professional wrestling. That's how I view them. And so like it felt like, to me, Darby had worked himself into these matches with Cody enough that like it was like it's time for somebody to win a championship here, and I felt like that was the story they were telling. And one thing I love about Cody too, just while I'm just raging on everybody, just getting super excited, Cody is one of the best wrestlers in the business today. Like, he is just fantastic. And he is doing this great thing of, he is not a heel, but he's like, everybody loves him. But I think Meltzer described him one time as like, he does the Lou Thez job of like, Lou Thez was the champion. The way he told the story was like, Lou Thez was this champion that was very, very good and like the best wrestler in the world. But he fought heels a lot. But every once in a while, he traveled to a territory where their top guy was a babyface, and he had to fight the babyface guy. Lou Thez wasn't going to be a heel like in an unbelievable way, like all of a sudden I'm gouging eyes and cheating. But he would be a bully, and he would be arrogant. And he would be like, you think you're good enough to take this title? You're not even on my level. Like, he would have this, like, just air of something about him that just said, like, no, son, this is not your place to fight me. And so it would get you behind the babyface more. It was just enough of a heel. And Cody was doing that in this match, basically, like playing this role with Darby. He rolled in deep with his crew. He came in, there was this celebration around Cody, the pyro, all of this stuff. And then he's looking at Darby and like, right before they showed this video package where Cody's like, hey man, Darby Allin's really great. Could he be the face of AEW? Yeah. Will he be? No, he won't. Like, cause he just drew the wrong guy, and it's me. It's not going to happen. And it just had this like little bit of cockiness about him that made you want to see Darby put him in check, basically. And so this match is amazing. These guys just like Cody just walking around doing that kind of attitude. And then they go back and forth and back and forth. No matter what Cody does, Darby's matching it move for move. They keep going. And eventually, the other thing that I really loved about this match, I mean, God help me, this may be one of my favorite matches this year, is that they end up in a situation where they keep rolling each other up. They're like just getting frustrated. They start rolling each other up, and it's like Cody rolls him up, kicks out. Darby rolls him up, kicks out. And it goes and goes and goes, and Darby finally rolls him up one time. 1, 2, 3, gets the win and wins the TNT title. Darby Allin has beaten Cody Rhodes, and Cody just cannot believe what just happened. And it just, I don't know, it was a beautiful story being told in the ring by both these guys, and it was amazing. And Cody does go and get the title and walk over and tell Darby to stand up on his feet. Darby stands up, Cody gets down on a knee and hands him the belt. And just a beautiful moment. Anyway, I've rambled long enough. I'm sorry, guys. I can't express how much I loved this matchup. But Rob, you talk, please.
I think this match offered a lot. I don't want to be too controversial here about this. One of my beefs with AEW, and again, I'm not the world is plenty big enough, and I'm probably wrong here, but it just seems to me like I really need Darby Allin. He's got a great look. He's a great wrestler. He's very skilled. I need him to be bigger. One of the things that's just like not believable for me is like a guy like, I think he is set up to have a great and believable feud with like Orange Cassidy, but I just don't see a little guy like that who's probably about my size. I'm 175 pounds, man. He's not much bigger than me. I mean, I go work out, so obviously, but I'm not going to go in there. I'm not going to go in there and beat Cody Rhodes. Yeah, I'm a U.S. Army infantry veteran, but I'm not going to go in and beat Cody Rhodes. He's too big. I'm not going to.
Not with that attitude. You're not. No.
You know what I mean? And it's like there's a weight classification again, and I'm not trying to rain on the parade here because I really do think it was a good match. It was very entertaining. Everything you said, Gary, I 100% agree with. I just feel like, when you're talking about a guy like Cody's, not only does he match Darby skill for skill, not pound for pound, he's way bigger than him, and that has to be, to me, that's just it stretches the bounds of believability. I don't think that in real prize fighting, Darby is going to be able to contend with Cody or a Chris Jericho or somebody, not because he doesn't have talent, but he just doesn't have the size. I mean, Roy Jones Jr. and Mike Tyson are about to box, man. They're promoting that, and that's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see it. But honestly, guys, Mike Tyson is way too big for Roy Jones Jr. Way too big. He's way too much of a brute. Physically, he's just an imposing force. But that doesn't take anything away from the other thing is like, this is the belt, man. I mean, the world's belt is one thing that Moxley holds. That's a great belt. It's a great prestigious title. But this belt is like up there because of the manner in which Cody has represented it and held it. And this is a guy who has beaten Nick Aldis. There's only a handful of people that's beaten Nick Aldis. He's one of them. And beat it within recent memory. Like, we all saw it. And then Nick Aldis, of course, beat him in a very closely contested match. I just don't see Darby Allin, again, and I'm not trying to insult him, so please don't take it that way, because I think this guy in a cruiserweight classification or a light heavyweight classification or in some where a title is not on the line is money. He is money. He can be the face. But, like, I never bought Rey Mysterio Jr. being able to contend with a Brock Lesnar or something like that. I just don't buy it. I don't know. Does that make sense? I'm wrong. Am I wrong? Probably am.
Yeah, you're wrong. I'm actually struggling with some of the something similar, but from a different angle. And I try not to be like super dogmatic about this, but in general, I don't think and I said this, I think even last week, but like even with like the Undertaker, I don't think he needed to be the champion because his persona with that darkness and that, I mean, that was enough to keep him interesting on its own. And so kind of from the beginning, I've said like Darby Allin doesn't need a title. He's a scrappy guy. He puts himself on the line. He's entertaining. He's got a great character, great persona. He can go out there and he can get matches over. He can get feuds over. He can get himself over just on the merit of his in-ring performance. I don't think he needs to be in contention for a title or even pursuing a title. Like, I think there's this weird like disconnect in my brain that a guy like him, I buy way more into the idea that a guy like him would just want to fight Cody Rhodes than a guy like him wanting to have a gold belt. You know what I mean? Like that, there's a little disconnect there in my brain. I'm excited that he did win it. I think he deserves it just for what he's become in AEW and his feuds with Cody. I mean, I love the callback to their first match at Fyter Fest that went to a 20-minute time limit draw. I love that they kept mentioning this match has a 60-minute time limit, so there probably is going to be a finish. And so, you know, I love that he won. I love the show of respect and everything at the end. But I'm a little bit with you, Rob, but just from a different perspective.
Yeah, and again,
well, I was just going to jump in and say, like, I mean, my thing is, I think I look at these things as though I don't know. I guess it depends on how much you want to buy into wrestling, like as a shoot. Like it just, like one of the beauty parts about wrestling is it can be MMA, but without the hang up of real life. Like, that also in UFC, we've seen what happens when two guys face off in a matchup. Sometimes it can just go 5 rounds and they're just like staring at each other and slapping each other every once in a while. Like nothing happens. But you don't have to worry about that in wrestling. In wrestling, an Irish whip is the dumbest fucking move that could ever happen because that just nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to bounce off the ropes and come back at you. So there's varying degrees of how far you want to take that. So to me, I've never been too bothered by the little guy that if there is a story established that this person is a very skilled opponent, there's got to be the belief that maybe they could eventually take and I know like it's weird. It's like there's a height cutoff for some people, I think, and AEW is pushing. I mean, Darby is a smaller guy. We'd love to know what you guys think out there. So let us know in the comments and in the chat, that sort of thing. Just to throw it in there, since we're having the discussion, it's generating talk. I mean, here we go. Like,
it's a great show of respect that Darby has gotten this very prestigious title. He's earned it, no doubt. And again, I see everybody in here who's commenting, like Front Row and James Lawrence and Jedi Warrior. You guys have opinions that I deeply respect, and I do. For me, it's like, I'm gonna tell you right now, it's not believable for me that Darby Allin could uncrown Nick Aldis. If he can uncrown Cody, though, you would think theoretically the axiom would apply to Aldis as well. I just don't see it. But again, this is just one man's opinion. It was a good match, and Darby Allin's way cool, and he does have that sort of that charisma and that unique look. It's kind of like Thunder Rosa has with the paint and everything. That's the kind of thing that gets you over and makes you the face of a company. If you match it with a good gimmick and a good ring gravitas and skill, the sky's the limit for you. I just it's stretching. Wrestling, when we've got schools that are now being called dojos, the intimation is this is performance art. It is performance art, but it is also combat sport too. I mean, these are fighting combat athletes who take their craft very, very, very seriously. And you look in, propositionally and theoretically, these people that are going in training, they should be freaking pretty badass fighters. They should be, and they most always are. So weight is just a thing. It's just a hang up that I have. It's not a deal breaker at all, but it's just, that's just where my struggle is at.
No, I love it. I love us having these discussions. Front Row in the chat saying he disagrees. It's about skill, not size. Ronda Rousey's 5'7" and 150 pounds. It can beat anybody's ass. Elder Sour was a great match, but I was looking forward to long-form Darby versus Ricky feud. Well, stay tuned. Darby has skills that more than match your typical heavyweight contender, says Jedi Warrior. And he's a Jedi Warrior, so he would know. So there you go. But James Lawrence agreeing with you, Rob. This is why they have weight divisions in boxing and MMA. So, we're going to see. We're going to find out what happens. I mean, a lot of people do think weight classes do matter in these kind of situations. After the match, one of the, if I could just go back to, give it AEW a hand job real quick. The Taz walks out, and he's had enough of Cody congratulating Darby. He says he needs a vomit bag. He tells Darby to act like he's been there before, but he never has. He tells him to get their bitch asses to the back. He said, "You heard me, executive man." And Ricky Starks and Brian Cage jump in and start attacking Cody and Darby. And so there's this beatdown, and they tear up Cody and Darby, throw them out of the ring. There's the TNT title in the middle of the ring. Brian Cage and Ricky both go to pick up the TNT title. And then there's that brief moment of pause between the two. They both have one end of the TNT title. And Brian Cage is like, okay. And Ricky's like, no, wait. And then there's like the pull back and forth, and then Taz like steps up, just like, hey, go back out here and beat these guys up. And so they hand Taz the belt, and they go back to fighting with Cody and Darby. And so they're obviously building up a match there. the match leads to or the fight leads to the car that Darby rode up in on, and they put Darby's arm in the car like they're gonna in the car door like they're gonna break it, and then Big Will Hobbs jumps in and attacks both the guys, and there's just a brawl. And so to Elder Sour's point, I don't think the Ricky Starks Darby Allin thing's over. I think the Brian Cage is involved. I think Cody's involved. I think Will Hobbs is involved. There's a whole kerfluffle occurring here. And so the TNT title is becoming a central part of the AEW show. And I just love the idea of this long-term booking that they're doing, that not only has it led up to more story progressing, but even that brief moment between Brian Cage and Ricky Starks that we probably won't see more out of for a year from now. But there was the moment, like just the brief, like, I should hold this. No, I should hold this. And that was just kind of cool, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
The next matchup on the they do a bunch of backstage stuff, so I'm going to skip through this. Dasha interviews QT Marshall and Dustin Rhodes. It was a very good interview. Dustin Rhodes is the most underutilized person in AEW, that like just every single time he does anything, it's money. He's like one of the best wrestlers and just the best talkers in the business today. And he proves it every single time he's out there. He looks better now than he ever did. And he's getting older and he's aging like fine wine. But anyway, it was good to see him, but they could have shaved off some time off this show by not having so much backstage stuff. They go to Hikaru Shida and Nyla Rose taking on each other. And I'm going to skip through this one a little bit. It was a longer match than it needed to be. Hikaru Shida does pick up the win over Nyla Rose after delivering like 4 of those kicks to the head. And Vicky Guerrero gets real pissed and starts yelling at Nyla Rose. And I don't know. I wasn't feeling this match. This is one of the ones I wasn't so into. I don't know if you guys have thoughts about it though.
No, I feel the same way. I didn't really. And so, I mean, I think to Wade Keller's point, this might have clouded his judgment a little bit when it came to evaluating having 2 women's title matches on the same show. It wasn't necessarily because of the 2 titles being there. It was just that this match didn't. I mean, I love both of these ladies, but it didn't live up to the rest of the card or even the NWA women's match. So I think that might have been part of it.
And it's odd to me to see like Nyla Rose vulnerable. You know what I mean? It's kind of like what we were talking earlier with Genocide. You don't have to necessarily have her in the title picture, but I don't like seeing her getting slapped, letting herself get slapped by Vicky Guerrero and just, you know, being humbled. That's just it just doesn't fit her.
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense to me. It's like this woman has run roughshod over, has been one of the most dominant athletes in the whole AEW lore since AEW started. And this is a complete turnabout. So something's happening. They're obviously trying to develop something there. I think Hikaru Shida is one of the great women wrestlers. So it doesn't, you know, I mean, she needs a better match, but gosh, it was weird. It's unsettling to me to see that at the end. It didn't feel like Nyla Rose.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And yeah, it was just kind of I don't know. It was they should have shaved some time off this one, I think. And there were a couple of spots where I thought there could have been a finisher, and there just wasn't, and it just kept going, and so it was just kind of disappointing. The next match on the card is FTR versus the Young Bucks, and this match has been built up forever. Will, I have to ask you, I mean, did you get a chance to check this out? Because, man, I thought this lived up to it. I thought these two guys.
It over-delivered, completely over-delivered. I was a little skeptical coming into this because I wouldn't say a lack of build, but just it was something that I like. FTR and the Young Bucks. I mean, this is a feud that goes back to Twitter when FTR was the revival in WWE, and that, you know, this whole like, you guys do flips and we punch, you know, 2 different styles colliding, and I don't know. It didn't feel like the correct culmination. It felt like this should have been a match that at some point was like a main event on a pay-per-view.
Sure.
That kind of caliber. And so, yeah, I was a little skeptical coming in, but man, it completely over-delivered. And I'm just gonna be honest, I don't want to hear about the Young Bucks. If you watch this match, if you didn't watch this match, shut up. If you did watch this match and you have criticisms, that's fine. But if you didn't watch it, shut your damn mouth. Because this match, I mean, this was the caliber of, and they mentioned it all throughout the match, but a Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express match, there's the obvious comparisons to Ole and Arn with FTR, and just like that, they told.
I kept hearing the Southern Boys versus the Midnight Express in this one. Like,
yeah, exactly. And like it was on par with that. And you don't have to like guys that flip and sacrifice their body and all that kind of stuff. You don't have to. But if you watch this match as a wrestling fan, and it didn't spark some enjoyment for you, then we're in two different spaces, because that was a tag team masterpiece. And I'm not overstating. I'm telling you, as a tag team fan who would prefer to watch a tag team match, that match was glorious. The story that told, the twists and turns, the fact that there was history there, the fact that they in my opinion, look like they legitimately don't like each other, which is an essential component of a prize fight for me. It was just a great match. It could have been the main event, in my opinion, hands down. Of course, I'm biased as a tag team fan, but it was incredible.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that ending there too, because you talk about beautiful storytelling. You brought it up. I mean, there's just fists, no flips, or whatever that the FTR preaches, and then the Young Bucks. So Cash lands a super kick on Nick, knocking him to the floor. Cash then kicks Matt mid-ring, who's laid out on his back. Cash goes up for a springboard 450 off the top rope, just all of a sudden decides, screw these guys, I'm going for a flip. And boy, does he. And he completely misses when Matt rolls out of the way. Matt gets everything he's got, despite his bum knee that they've been building up this whole match and everything. Super kicks him in the face, gets the 1, 2, 3, and wins. FTR's first loss in AEW. The Young Bucks are the new AEW Tag Team Champions, and FTR takes that first loss at the expense of a springboard 450 when they are the just fist, no flips team. And they tried to go the one time they broke away. They had kicked Tully out earlier in this match, so the game plan was broken down. They decided to get spicy with a flip move, and it cost them everything. They broke away from the game plan, and that's a story, man. It was just I think it was Brian Alvarez I heard on the Observer podcast saying, it's almost as if he was like, in this match, it was almost as if 4 years ago when these two teams were bitching back and forth at each other on Twitter, that the Young Bucks and FTR were like, hey man, you know what you should do is just be the just fist, no flips guys. And then one day, after you have made that your thing, and you never do this is going to be badass. And he's like, I know that didn't happen, but it felt that way. Just the build up and the whole thing going to it, and out of desperation, they go for that 450, screw it up, and get caught, and that's the end of the match. And meanwhile, by the way, the Young Bucks, I mean, for what it's worth, Will talking about the Young Bucks wrestling, the Young Bucks were pretty grounded during this match. I mean, as far as the Young Bucks go, they were not wildly flying around. Matt has the bad knee, and so, I mean, that was part of the story for this match, but I mean, this was a dead-on wrestling match, and they were back and forth the entire time. It was a 30-minute badass tag team match. It just really was. And I'm sorry if you didn't like this. Then, like Will said, I don't know what to do for you.
Well,
you probably if you didn't like this, you probably didn't like the Southern Boys and Midnight Express either. So probably in a different spot.
Will is our resident tag team expert. So as far as all the technical minutia of the match, I have to defer to him. I do want to say I love FTR's like ring attire coming in, the jumpsuits. They look great too. I love seeing heel Will Martin. I like seeing Will Martin angry and a little saucy. That's pretty cool. But I think it's just really, we have been waiting. Like we just assumed when AEW was founded that the Young Bucks would be the first tag champions and that they would be the perennial champions, and they have not held it yet until this match. And so I was entertained by it. I'm not as big a tag team fan as Will is. I like, one-on-one, mono gentlemen's rules, classic matches like that. I do like tag team wrestling, but not like Will does. And so I was excited for him. Great match, man. Top tier tag team match for sure.
Yeah, 100% agree. So this was this is probably my favorite one on the show, especially going into the next match, which was Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara in the Elite Deletion, which you needed a come down match, I guess, from that one. I feel for anybody following that matchup, and I don't think anybody could have followed directly after this. So they go to the cinematic match. And, man, I'm going to be honest with you, just straight up, I didn't like it. I thought it was fine, I guess. No, I just didn't like it. It was way too long. There were some cool moments like the Hurricane and Gangrel showing up and that whole thing. Like that was kind of funny that like they, where they have the moment where Hurricane and Matt have the talk about like, hey man, where you been? Like I've been tied up in this basement. I don't even remember the storyline, but like Matt was like, I'm sorry, I had to get to AEW so I could finish the storyline. But it's like, that's a little too meta for me sometimes anyway. And it just, I don't know. And then Sammy and Matt are like trying to actually like just freaking murder each other throughout the match. And I don't know. It's just not my thing.
Yeah, it's not my cup of tea, man. I'm not gonna trash it and say that it was good or bad. It's another example, kind of like the Stadium Stampede of like, you can disagree with me. I think there's room for it in wrestling. I think there's room for getting creative and doing cinematic matches. Doesn't mean everyone has to like it. Doesn't mean I have to like it. But just because I don't like it doesn't mean it's not good. So some people may have liked it, and maybe I'm being too politically correct here, but it wasn't my cup of tea.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, again, for what a lot of what we've already said about prize fighting and whatnot.
Okay. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No.
Okay.
That's it.
They go to a Lance Archer thing in the back. We'll skip through that. I mean, it's Jake Roberts and just talking about Jake Roberts still cuts a hell of a promo, and Lance Archer, just reestablishing him. I'm not sure why this is on the pay-per-view. I don't think it needed to be there. Then you get into MJF and Chris Jericho. The only notes I made about this match, I mean, I think the match was average. It was fine. I think it told the story it needed to tell. But the biggest standout moments for me are that Jericho, just that crowd this late into the show loved Chris Jericho. From singing his entrance theme to just like cheering for him throughout the match. Like they just, everything he did, he's the heel. I mean, but he's up against MJF, so he certainly seemed like the biggest baby face of the business right then. And I don't. Props to Chris Jericho for like however many decades this guy has just been a different person each decade, and is still like a major star. The story of the match is essentially a back and forth between the two, but MJF goes and gets the ring. He's going to put it on his hand, and he's going to punch Jericho in the face. But at the same time, Swagger runs out, throws the bat into Chris Jericho, and then that has the refs dealing with putting Wardlow back down onto the ring side. MJF gets to play the Eddie Guerrero and take the fall, and it looks like Chris Jericho has bashed him in the face with the bat. And so you get the disqualification, and MJF and Wardlow are now part of the inner circle. So there you go. Any thoughts on this match? Rob, I'll turn to you first.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Jericho has gotten to the point now where he's can't be a heel if he wanted to. You know, he's a statesman. He's so over and popular that people just love him, even when he's the baddest of the bad. I think what we're seeing here is possibly the setting, that maybe a passing of the torch to MJF to take over this inner circle. Someone mentioned, I guess Jedi Warrior mentioned maybe Chris Jericho starting to do something more statesmanlike and maybe challenge, do like what Cody did and challenge for the NWA title coming up or something like that. But it seems to me like you're going to see, again, I don't know this. I mean, I could be probably wrong on this too, but you're probably going to see Jericho booted out of the inner circle here pretty soon, because it does not seem to me that even after the match that things were quite sitting well between Wardlow and the rest of the crew. There seemed to be some glances and some hesitation and all that. But I think the big story for me is, again, like you were saying, Gary, Jericho is huge, man. He is what a freaking important part of wrestling. I mean, this is he's a tier. He's up there with Flair. I mean, as far as being among the greats,
Yeah, I mean, I think people are like hesitant. They're like fighting it. Like it just doesn't. I don't know. I think Jericho's one of those guys that nobody ever expected it would be this way, but he is consistently on top. No matter how you try to bury him or what you try to do with him, he somehow bounces back up, and he just is, man. He's always been huge, and I don't think he cannot be huge. And like you said, he's also reached that tier of he can't be heel anymore either. So it's like people just love him. And that's just how it is. And this ending was what it needed to be. I mean, they're telling a more long-term story here. So a good match there. And then we get to, for me, besides the FTR and Young Bucks match, this was the other prize fight in the match. And one of the reasons I felt like we really needed to cover it, because this is the NWA, and Eddie Kingston's our boy. And he leaves the NWA and heads right to AEW. And within months, he is in the main event for the World's Heavyweight Championship. Props to him. Props to them. Props to Tony Khan for seeing it. And it's just like, you talk about Chris Jericho one day being a huge baby face. Eddie Kingston's going to blow everybody's mind when he becomes like the biggest baby face of the business, because he's playing the heel here. He's playing the person that's just he's distraught over Jon Moxley, who forgot everybody, left the Indies, and left everybody poor. And he took the big money and became a superstar. And they're going to have a fight. And he passed out the last time they had a matchup. He never gave up. So this is an I quit matchup. And so somebody's going to say it. Somebody has to say it. That's the only way to win. But let me just say right off the bat, this is not WWE I quit match. There's not like a ref walking around with a microphone saying, like, what do you say, Eddie? You can give up right now. You can give up. Just do it. All you got to do is say, I quit. All you got to do. No, it's not that. It's just like they let these two guys just fight. And I'm not a guy that is huge into hardcore wrestling. I don't know how you guys feel about like CZW and like that style of thing, but these two went at it, and I saw some complaints online about the Geek Show, like Cardi stuff. These guys are just like trying to hurt each other, blah, 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 blah. But it felt real for me. Like this felt like these two guys are angry. These two guys come from this. This is what they're going to do. I thought this would, I don't know, when these guys busted out barbed wire and tacks and everything else, like it felt called for. And just to wrap up what happened here, I mean, I think Mox hit him with like a pile driver and a choke. He hit him with the paradigm shift. Mox keeps trying to choke him, and Eddie's not doing anything. And finally, they've got barbed wire in the ring. I mean, this is barbed wire that I thought it was just brutal. Like Eddie eventually takes off the board and like wraps it around his fist, and he's using it and stuff. Well, Mox can't choke Eddie out enough, but he then takes the barbed wire and wraps his forearm in the barbed wire, and is like, Eddie, there is no other way out of this. and like grabs him up in the bulldog choke and pulls back, choking Eddie with the barbed wire so much that finally Eddie just says, I quit. And just, and that's it. And Mox wins and retains the World's Heavyweight Championship. And I thought it was brutal and beautiful. Like these two guys just beat the shit out of each other. And it looked like what was supposed to happen. All right. Well, I'm glad.
I mean, I don't want to be that guy, but it was just a little too hardcore for me, hardcore deathmatchy, and it's just it's another example of something that's not my cup of tea. I would have preferred to see a regular match, but if you're gonna have an I Quit match and it's gonna be Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston, to your point, it does make sense that these guys aren't gonna hold back and they're gonna do everything. When we talk about a little bit about authenticity and things like that, I get that there are limits to that, and you do have to suspend disbelief to a certain extent. I just always a little bit roll my eyes when there's just a bag of thumbtacks under the ring or barbed wire, and I just that a little bit like I don't know. There's something I kind of like I said, I roll my eyes a little bit at that, and that's nothing against Mox or Eddie. Those guys are world class at what they're doing, but I just for me it wasn't. I would have much rather the Young Bucks and FTR been the main event, but it was a world title match, so it had to be the main event. But it wasn't my favorite match of the night.
It just man. Oh, go ahead, Rob. I'm sorry.
I don't know. I was going to say Front Row makes a really excellent point that we got to remember that it's definitely not our style. I'm with you, Will, on that, and Gary. But these are guys that they venerate ECW. I mean, Eddie Kingston always talks about that being the thing that kept him out of the streets to come in and watch that kind of thing, and Mox is the same way. I felt like it's certainly not my cup of tea either. You guys know that. But it seemed like at the end, when there was the little banter back and forth, there seems to be some respect. It really did look real to me, too, because it looked like Eddie was bleeding from the mouth. Moxley was bleeding from the head, but it wasn't overly gruesome. It wasn't like just lacerated skins and this and that. It looked like they'd got in there and had an old-fashioned street fight, The only thing that really was, weird to me was, Kenny Omega coming down at the end. Like, they're setting that up for something. I'm like, now we're – I want to see Eddie Kingston and Mox some more. I want to play this feud out for a little bit longer.
Well, it's going to be kind of interesting because their next big pay-per-view is not until February, so they got some time to go. And but no, Kenny Omega beating Hangman was the finals of that tournament, so he is the number one contender for the title. So I guess that's why they're doing that. But I don't know, man. I didn't. The hardcore didn't put me off here. But you're not alone, Will. A lot of people felt that way. Wade Keller's review here, he bitches about it too, and says
he didn't like it.
Yeah, he didn't like it.
Then I like it. I like it then. I loved it. I thought it was match of the night, man. I love the thumbtack thing. It was great.
Oh man. Well, he just
the match, the preparation packages for this were money, man. I mean, anytime we get to hear Eddie Kingston talk is just, to me, that's worth more than the match, So all the vignette,
that there was the scene where they go, and I don't remember if this was from a previous week or whatever, but he's there with Eddie Kingston and his fam, and it's the Lucha Bros and Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny, and they're all out there. And they talk to him, and they're all talking about how they support Eddie and blah, blah, blah. Eddie's just standing there, and he's dead serious. And just and you've seen him get emotional. You've seen him get riled up, so you're expecting more of that. But they're like, we've seen, so-and-so say they deserve a shot. We've seen Lance Archer pop up, and he wants a shot. And then you've got Jon Moxley tonight. But how do you feel about this? And Eddie is totally different. This just shows all his different levels. He's just like, I don't care. And it's like, well, which is they're like, well, how are you feeling? What's more important to you? Beating making Jon Moxley say I quit or the title. And again, against everything I thought he would do, that Eddie Kingston's there saying that title is the most important thing in this business. That is the title that matters. I'm coming for that title. Everything we do is about that title. I am winning that title tonight, and it's going to prove that everything I've been doing this whole time was worth it. And they're like, there's going to be people coming. He's like, I don't care. I don't care about Lance Archer. I don't care about Jon Moxley. I will do whatever it takes to get that title and keep that title. And it was just like, oh, it was so intense watching it. I can't describe it perfectly, but it was so beautiful. And I think I even tweeted at the time, I was like, screenshot it if you must. This is the only time I'll say this, but the NWA dropped the ball with Eddie Kingston walking out of there without getting to do this kind of promo versus Nick Aldis for the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship, because that would have been money. Like, to hear, because I don't believe that about the AEW title like I do the NWA World's Championship. But my God, you can't tell me Eddie Kingston, when he's focused on the title, like, I mean, he made that title seem like the biggest prize that anybody could ever have. It's winning the lottery. Like, it changes your whole life by holding that belt. And it's the Infinity Gauntlet. Like, it's like you got to have that belt. And
part of it is who it's coming from. I mean, Eddie Kingston could sit on train tracks and tell me that a grilled cheese is the greatest thing you can ever possess, and I'm gonna go make a grilled cheese. Like, that's how passionate and how authentic and real Eddie Kingston is. So yeah, I'm certainly not in a real sense elevating that title above the 10 pounds of gold by any stretch of the imagination. But Eddie Kingston is another level when it comes to being a communicator in professional wrestling and being I don't want to call him a hype guy, because he's not hypey. He's just real, man. I mean, we say it all the time. He's a real guy, and when he says stuff, you can't help but just be completely engaged and drawn in to what he's saying.
Absolutely. So that is it for that part. Fellas, I threw it in the chat. I don't know how much more time you got. I got a couple of news items here. Do you want to run through them, or do you guys have stuff to do? You guys want to get out of here? What do you want to do?
I gotta go make a grilled cheese, man. I just said that as a joke, and now I really want a grilled cheese, but that's just me.
Grilled cheese sounds good.
Seriously?
Or an IHOP Philly cheesesteak, boy.
Oh, I don't know. I got grilled cheese on my mind now. What's the right way to make a grilled cheese? How do y'all make it?
Okay. I mean, if we're talking about this, what I like to do,
we are talking about this.
I like to spray my pan. Then I like to butter my bread first, and then I press once that pan is nice and popping. I like to press the bread down, and then put the cheese in the middle and press it with my spatula and get it like to about that thin, and then just eat it, man.
I feel like I saw somewhere you put mayonnaise on either side of the bread.
I haven't tried it, but I've heard that.
I've never tried it either. I've read that in a few places that you throw the mayonnaise on the sides that are hitting the pan, and it gives it just like a little bit extra. I don't know. It's weird.
Tuesday night I'm coming with grilled cheeses. That's what I'm doing.
That's what you should do.
I'm like, get that mayonnaise off my plate. I don't even do anything that even resembles mayonnaise. That's awful. That's awful.
So I've different way. I've put the butter into the pan before and done it that way. I feel like if you get the right ratio, that's a really good way to do it. So you melt the butter and then you cook it in melted butter. But yeah, I just curious.
Jenna, we're talking about he's changing the game and talking about putting bacon in there. What? I like that.
I mean, it makes sense.
It does. It makes perfect sense.
I used to work at Chick-fil-A when I was in high school, and Chick-fil-A, they had their butter is in like this thing, and it's got a roller, and that's how you butter the buns. And then obviously they got bacon, they got cheese. I used to butter the bun, real good on both sides. Put cheese and bacon in there. Stick it on the chicken salad sandwich coaster. Press it down. Oh, man. Yeah. Bacon on a grilled cheese is where it's at.
Wow. Sounds awesome. Ooh. All right. Well, since I didn't get a straight answer, I will say this. For anybody who cares and doesn't think we talk enough about him, Tetsu Naito said he's going to face Kota Ibushi on January 4th and Jay White on January 5th, defending both of his titles on both nights of Wrestle Kingdom 15. So that's been announced. There you go. New Japan. Yeah, Kota Ibushi lost the briefcase to Jay White, and Jay White's cashing in at that event at Wrestle Kingdom. And so to be a good guy, Naito says he will still face Kota Ibushi on the first night. So there's that.
Yes. Listen, and this is NWA relevant because this is Rob Conway. You know, his championship reigns were marked by defenses at Wrestle Kingdom. So very, very important.
When I thought we were going to wrap this up earlier or not have enough to talk about, I wrote down this thing from Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer newsletter that I thought was interesting. I'm just going to read through it real quick, Rob, and you can add to it if you want. He mentioned, R.I.P. Sean Connery. And he said the death of Sean Connery, the original James Bond at 90 on October 31st, leads to a few notes on Bond and wrestling crossovers. Connery was first discovered after having placed third in the 1953 Mr. Universe bodybuilding contest. He had two notable villain opponents in movies who were famous pro wrestlers. In the 1964 movie Goldfinger, former Olympic silver medalist in weightlifting Harold Sakata, who became the pro wrestler Tosh Togo, was cast as his villain rival Odd Job with a magic hat. The role ended up being considered one of the all-time classic villain roles in action movies. After the movie came out, he changed his wrestling name to Odd Job Tosh Togo for the rest of his career and was billed as a movie star in the 1967 movie You Only Live Twice. He had a fight. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. This is the second line. In the 1967 movie You Only Live Twice, he had a fight scene with Peter Anderson, who, as Peter Maivia, was the grandfather of Dwayne Johnson, who went on to become one of pro wrestling's biggest superstars of the late 60s and 70s. Actually, the scene of Maivia, who was known in wrestling as a famed street fighter, throwing Connery through a window was reminiscent of the famous 1969 brawl he had with Billy Robinson. Later in his Bond career, British heavyweight star and former bodybuilder Wayne Bridges was used as Connery's body double at times. So just some interesting history, I guess.
I've got about 8 articles I've been writing here for the last since March, and none of them are finished. But one of them that I was going to start on this week was about the wrestling connection with Sean Connery and Alex Trebek. Two iconic people. And I'm going to get choked up here, man. I just thought these guys are just great, and we lost some good ones this week, man.
Yep. Paige revealed on social media that she and her boyfriend, Roddy Radke, had to deal with a scary stalker incident. The person had shown up at their door and said that symbols had led him to them. Luckily for Paige, Roddy locked this dude up in a chokehold and held him down. Paige said, scariest thing ever. Roddy got him in the hold until police got there. What the fuck is wrong with people? Thank God Roddy is around to protect our house. Roddy also spoke about the incident. He tweeted photos of the arrest saying, a stalker had the audacity to come to my door. He got his ass handed to him until police arrived and saved the day. I will effing kill you. Please don't make me kill you.
Oh.
All right.
Good point.
Let's talk some Ring of Honor news. Jonathan Gresham won the tournament to become the first pure champion since 2006. Gresham beat Tracy Williams in the finals at 14:36. So there you go. That's who won the pure tournament. Jonathan Gresham was at Bloodsport. For those, I think.
I remember mentioning Jonathan Gresham on this show, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago, saying I wish this guy would end up in the NWA. This guy is the real deal, man. Big fan.
After defeating Eddie Kingston last night in an I Quit match for his AEW World Championship, Jon Moxley did an AEW Full Gear post-show media call. They talked about talent being restricted during the COVID-19 situation, and Nick Housen from Wrestling Inc. asked Moxley if he had any advice for indie talents who are trying to become noticed during the pandemic. Moxley said, yeah, that's a tough question because indie talents were hit really, really hard with all of this. It's another reason I did Bloodsport 3 the other week. It felt like I had a responsibility. I'd been booked for it twice. Josh Barnett hit me up, and he's one of the smartest guys I know. So he's not going to be running some 2-bit operation. Everybody on Bloodsport was tested. All that group was separate. I took extra steps myself, including I stayed at my old hotel and made sure I had my old space so that I could do everything I can for the company I work for. I guess the thing that I can tell people is, as far as staying safe, not just in wrestling, but for anything, if you're going to do anything, go to the grocery store, try to attend an event, or come to an AEW show. We can make the shows as safe as possible and put all the rules into place. But if you don't follow them, what can we do? You have to take personal responsibility. You do the things you need to do. Social distance. I try to do everything I can. I try to stay in my own bubble as much as possible everywhere in life. As far as getting noticed, I just say it's a tough question. Take every opportunity. If you got to drive 15 hours or you got a dark match on NXT or AEW or wherever it's going to be, you just got to keep your nose to the grindstone. It's a tough time for being an independent wrestler, but do whatever you can as safely as possible. You're going to have to work twice as hard right now because the world is the way it is. It sucks, but you see a guy like Eddie Kingston, 18 years grinding, he almost quit, but if he had quit at 17 and a half years, he was less than a half a year away from main eventing a huge pay-per-view. If it takes 11 years to make it, you can't quit in the 10th. No matter how tough it is, you can't win in the 11th if you quit in the 10th.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, some advice from John Moxley. I liked that.
That's good.
Yeah. Let's see. What else did I write down here? Tony Khan's a big fan of Darby Allin. That was a thing I wrote.
Breaking news.
One thing that did happen is Cody lied about not using Cody Rhodes on the show. Like, obviously he became Cody Rhodes again. You saw that. He said that he wasn't going to do it for wrestling. He was just doing it for media stuff and everything.
Oh, see you, Gary.
Well, good. He was talking too much anyway. So anyway,
man, whew.
I was like, whew.
Now that he's gone. But I think the show did just get a lot better. I don't know why.
Oh, funny guys.
Hey.
All right. Anyway, the point I was gonna make is that Cody Rhodes mentioned that
back with the Cody Rhodes. Go ahead.
All right, F y'all. Whatever, man. I asked you like 100 times if y'all wanted to hear any of this new stuff. Nobody ever responded to me, so whatever.
We're polite.
We never said yes, did we? We just
because we're tactful and we're polite, and we didn't want to crush your dreams.
Speaking of polite, Cody Rhodes was polite in his negotiations. It's come out he actually had to negotiate with the WWE and got the Cody Rhodes name back. He did decide, according to the pay-per-view, to use Cody Rhodes on wrestling because he came out as Cody Rhodes. But in the discussions with WWE, he had filed trademarks on several WCW owned events that were he previously had them registered, but he let those go and they let go the Cody Rhodes thing. That was the deal. He said the negotiations were very polite, but now WWE owns Slamboree, The Match Beyond, Bunkhouse Stampede, Battle Bowl, Super Brawl, Bash at the Beach. AEW ran several Bash at the Beach branded shows earlier this year, but it seems like that's not going to be happening anymore since WWE owns that. They just traded trademarks. So isn't that nice of those guys?
It's like a standoff. I love it. Listen, you Bash at the Beach if you'll give me my name back. It's classic.
Yep. It's late. Whatever. Guys, I worked so hard this morning. I was like, I'm I'm going to be ready to come in with some news and everything else. I didn't think we'd go this long. I didn't think we'd still be talking at this time of night, just about nothing. But
well, I'm sorry. Just very distracted, but I do have an update.
Gary's been trying this in the private chat for the last like half hour. We haven't even noticed it.
Well, I do have some updates that might reinvigorate the chat and this conversation. There is a wrestling themed food truck that sells grilled cheeses. It's called Championship Melt.
What?
From Beyond Wrestling. It's the world's only, as you can see there, wrestling themed gourmet grilled cheese food truck. They're in Rhode Island, and this looks incredible.
Following them right now.
Yeah.
we need to. Are we going to have to take a road trip to Rhode Island?
Yeah, well, no, I'm going to toss a follow their way. If we can get, we can partner with them. I'm being 100% honest. We need to partner with them, get some grilled cheeses sent our way. See if we can get a little sponsorship or something.
Evidently, they do mac and cheese too, boy.
Yeah.
What?
Go check it out. Championship Melt.
I'm going to look that up. That sounds good.
At Champ Melt.
I'm so hungry.
I'm about to retweet one of their tweets so you guys can go follow.
Hey, when
yeah.
we hit Tennessee here in a month or so, we're only going to be like 17 short hours away.
17 short hours.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Nope.
Take a plane.
Serena Deeb was also part of that presser. And afterwards, she talked about thinking how huge of an honor it is to be in AEW and also an honor it is to represent the NWA. She was asked about the cooperation between AEW and NWA, and she said, quote, "If you think back on pro wrestling, the territory days, people were just swapping around. They were traveling here, traveling there, working with different people, and then wrestling became really monopolized and separated. I think it was to the detriment of talent and the fans. As understandable as it is, I think this cooperation, this partnership between NWA and AEW is super powerful, and I think it's going to change wrestling. From a woman's standpoint, I'm really excited about it because I think the AEW women's roster is really growing, and it has so much potential. It just helps you. The more you get in the ring with different people, you become a more well-rounded wrestler. So I think with this partnership and different women coming in and different women going elsewhere, it's going to benefit everyone. There are things happening. Me going to Primetime Live and defending the NWA Championship, bringing it to Dynamite, defending it a week later, and defending it tonight on the buy-in. It's things that people haven't seen for a long time. It's really fun, and I think it's going to be really powerful. That is from Serena Deeb. So she's seeing all the stuff we see,
Mm-hmm.
For your life lesson for the day, WWE Hall of Famer Jake the Snake Roberts recently appeared on the Nothing Beats Experience podcast and revealed during the show that he has been diagnosed with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Roberts said that he spent a few days in the hospital in October because he could not stop coughing and was having trouble breathing. Roberts said that he thought maybe he had contracted COVID-19. He said, "I wish I could say it was COVID, but it's not. It's hereditary stuff, man. Not your happy camper stuff. Of course, I'm also an ignorant son of a bitch because I smoke cigarettes. I'm a dumb fuck. I plead with everyone. Don't smoke. You'll live a happier life." Just how serious is this condition that Roberts was diagnosed with? Roberts tried to shed some light on it by saying, "When I don't get the right amount of oxygen in my blood, if I talk for like 20 seconds, I'm done. I can't go anymore. This is going to be something I'm going to have to work with forever." Thankfully, AEW actually cares about us and gets us the help we need. They cared for Lance when he got COVID-19. Sadly, I went down the very next night with this issue. All I want to do is get out there and just do what I do, man. That's all I want. So there you go. Don't smoke.
Man, I tell kids all the time, man. We have a vaping epidemic right now. I mean, it's like it smells a lot better. Don't get me wrong, but it's like that's what you're seeing a lot, an infusion of big vaping devices into the school and all that. I tell these kids all the time, like, man, I've never met somebody my age that was so happy they picked up a nicotine habit, man. At your age, I've never met someone so happy. Let me look at Gary. Gary's only 4 foot. He's only 4'5", man.
I would have been 6.
He started, and that's because he started smoking in 3rd grade. Like
that's right. That's what I was gonna say. I was supposed to be like 6'10", but I was smoking. So, man, don't smoke. That's the lesson. If you take away anything from tonight, don't smoke.
Grilled cheese thing. But if there's
the grilled cheese thing. MLW is coming back November 18th. They're doing something called the Restart. Did you guys see that?
I have. I've heard about that.
Yep, they're coming right back to YouTube. But yeah, they side with DAZN, that huge sports network. It's like, kind of like Fight TV and stuff. But they're still going to show shows on YouTube weekly starting on November 18th. So if you haven't been watching MLW, you can start now. Now's a good time to jump in, which is also an excellent time to mention one of our sponsors, Hammerstone.
Hammerstone's paying us money?
No, he's not. But WWE Front Row would like to know, what's Hammerstone's favorite grilled cheese?
Oh gosh. Probably the one with like ham, bacon, sausage.
All the one with all the meat on it.
Yeah. Mountain of meat. Mountain meat melt.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
We got to make that. We have to make that.
That sounds good. The Hammerstone grilled cheese.
I'm gonna make it right now.
Beef Castle.
Hammer cheese, yeah.
Hammerstone. Oh man.
Hammerstone and cheese.
They ate to die. What is this? James H. Jackson Jr. It has an arrow, lives in Rhode Island. They
are to die for.
Oh, they are to die for. Oh, he lives there. I thought he was talking about the cell phone in this picture. That's it. Well, James H. Jackson Jr., you can go order a bunch, freeze them, and send them our way. Like, pack them up.
Just tell them to sponsor us. Tell them I want one of these pins they got on their Twitter. I want this pin right here.
Oh, that's cool.
I can put it. It'd look really good right on the front of my fanny pack right here. I'm sorry.
I love it.
My sling bag.
Right here.
Let's see. They got a website.
Hammer steak and cheese.
Well, we've done it.
we have.
We've done it.
Whatever it is, we've done it.
The end of the show.
All right, we've rumbled too long. You guys have been fantastic. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you for listening to us go on about AEW, MPW, and everything else. I am at This Is Gary Horn on all the things. Will is at Hey It's Will on all the things. You can see it right there. Rob's at This Is Dr. Stinson on TikTok, MySpace.
Farmers Only. All of them, man.
Linked out.
OnlyFans.
If you want to see what happens when Rob zips down the rest of that hoodie, you'll join his OnlyFans.
We do a Manscaped 2.0 demonstration, man. For those of you who are into what they call a PTS&M, whatever. That's just painful.
Promo code NWA Pod at manscaped.com. Think about your father this Christmas. Think about your brothers or whatever. Visit our online store at nwafam.com. All the social medias at the NWA Pod. Make sure to subscribe. Hit that like button on the video. And join us this Tuesday where we're going to be talking about UWN Primetime Live, the after show there. You're going to see Lacey Ryan of MPW fame. I don't know why I'm so blurry now, but here I am. And you're also going to be seeing she's taking on Viperous. You're going to see the semifinal matches. Chris Dickinson is taking on. Oh, look at that! Beautiful.
I was ready.
I love it. Chris Dickinson's taking on Fred Rosser, and Sean Davari is taking on Mike Bennett for the UWN World Championship. That's going to be good. It's not a World Championship, according to Rob.
Not.
I blacked out. Nope. All right. I don't know why I'm so blurry. It doesn't matter. We're leaving. And also the NWA Tag Team Championships are on the line as Question Mark and Aaron Stevens are taking on James Storm and Eli Drake. So
Beautiful.
It's going to be a good one. You got to tune in on Tuesday night and then come hang out with us directly after, and we'll talk about that. But
I'm going to be really excited. I'm going to have 2 grilled cheeses for the show. I'm going to have them right here.
This is going to be great. I'm super pumped. We love you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Until Tuesday, enjoy